Ladies and gentlemen, welcome! It is the 2025 ACM Endurance Series, and we're here with the 4 hours of Brands Hatch. Qualifying is just now getting underway. I am your host, Andrew Reif, joined by the esteemed Harry Goswell. And we've got quite a few cars out on track to tackle one of the most classic British tracks that we have in the world. I have to say, I am quite excited for this one. Night qualifying to start. It's going to be a little bit spicy, huh?
Yeah, this is going to be a good one here today with 4 hours of Brands Hatch. Obviously, 30-minute qualifying session at the start, so plenty of time for the drivers to get accustomed to the nighttime racing. But yeah, it's going to be a spicy one today.
Indeed it is. And as we go to move in to that qualifying specifically, we've got quite a few cars out on track, and I'm looking down the list right now. It actually seems quite heavy in terms of having German engineering out on the circuit right now. M4s dominating the field for the most part, and in fact holding on to the provisional pole time right now. I'm expecting that time to come a fair way down. It's a 25.2 as the benchmark presently speaking for Natashiko in the 19 machine. But the BMWs, I can't help but feel like my gut instinct is to say that while they do have a pretty well-rounded package, they aren't going to be the #1 vehicle to look out here for today.
Yeah, well, I've always sort of thought that the BMW M4 was quite a good car at Brands Hatch. I mean, Brands Hatch is, you know, it's not the easiest of tracks, and the M4 certainly isn't the most OP currently. But no, I always thought it was a pretty good car to see out there, and obviously a lot of people have agreed with that.
Reasonably well balanced. And you can see Natashiko actually having a little bit of difficulty there, missing that apex. Heading over Paddock Hill Bend. Track's still green at the moment. So honestly, the new pole time at 24.4 here set by Nickerson a little bit ago. I mean, 9-degree temperatures, so it's going to have a lot of benefit for the top end for these vehicles on the straights, but this isn't really the kind of circuit where you're thinking about your straight line speed coming through here in the outfield, specifically Hawthorne number 5, and you can see it's causing a little bit of problems here for that 875 McLaren. That temperature being so low is going to cause some grip issues for the cars out there today. But of course, for a 4-hour session, we're more so talking about consistency, and consistency is apparently hard to come by. Another off there.
Yeah, I mean, green track is never the easiest, but the temperature as well is also 9 degrees, and that is track and air temp. So these cars are going to be struggling for temperature, struggling for grip out there, but that's sort of the fun of this sort of race.
I'm curious, Harry, as we watch these cars circulate for a little bit, we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty at the end of the qualifying session for some time. I am imagining that we're going to see a little bit of track evolution. We've got just shy of 25 vehicles out there on the circuit right now, so expecting to see that at least come up to fast, maybe even optimum, if we get a little bit lucky, I should say. But speaking on the vehicles that are out on circuit right now, obviously this is split too, so there's going to be a little bit less in terms of legacy on the circuit today, as more so some unknown characters out on the track. But is there any team that you're looking for specifically out here today?
Not for me, unfortunately. My team is out in split 1, so I'm going to be on the unknowing of where they're doing. But no, we've got some great drivers out here. We've got a couple returning for the Endurance Series. Adamczyk in the number 666 BMW has raced so far in all of the races, which is good to see them back here again. But yeah.
I'm curious to see just how this ends up going for drivers in particular. I know that this is one of the circuits that is more punishing for me as a driver. The last couple of times that I've raced this in a formal setting, I was in the Nissan GTR actually and the Porsche 992 respectively, both vehicles that are a little bit difficult to get the hang of around this circuit, especially in the outfield section. We've only got one Porsche on track today. We've got one Aston Martin in the field, a couple of Lamborghinis, and some Ferraris as well. So there's a reasonable amount of car variety, not as much as I would personally hope. But, you know, it's well enough apparently for these drivers. It's another vehicle that is off there. Split 2, you're more likely going to see a little bit of variety in terms of pace and experience. So definitely not surprised to see a couple of issues for a couple of drivers. ACM Race team represented here by Eric Metcalf coming up to Paddock Hill Bend. We're about 21 minutes left here on qualifying, so the time's continuing to come down little bit. 24.3 is, quite honestly, fairly rapid for this condition. So I'm wondering where exactly the pole time will end up sitting. And what are we feeling about the importance of qualifying for this race in particular? Look, I'm just going to say, lap 1 incidents, not necessarily unlikely, especially going into Druids.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully it's not a major, massive grid that we've had today. We have had races here at Brands Hatch and ACM with 50 cars on the grid, and obviously 50 cars around Brands Hatch is certainly something to witness. But yeah, 20 cars going around, there's bound to be some lap 1 contacts, bound to be a bit of door banging, but hopefully nothing too serious. It's obviously a 4-hour race, so importance of qualifying is questionable, importance of the first lap is also questionable, but drivers out here are looking to get the best result they can, so we can't let them.
Indeed, a bad lap 1 can be race defining. That is for sure. That'll go for really any race format. But in endurance racing, generally speaking, you do have a little bit of a cushion. Obviously, the vast majority of the race will be fought much, much later than lap 1. But if you do take 3 minutes damage starting out on the back foot, certainly not going to be the way you want to begin, even if you have 4 hours to make up that time. And speaking of making up time, here's about a 2-second improvement there for the 664 Aston Martin. Only up to a 26.2, but still you love to see more than a second up on the Delta. There are some more improvements coming down the table as well. Nothing terribly significant as I'm looking at my race control, but still, it's nice for the drivers to get the hang of this circuit. And as I was talking about track evolution being a potential factor for this session prior to the race start, we're still sitting on a green circuit. You might have some insight onto this one, actually, though, Harry, is what can we expect as there's the 44 machine, wisely staying away there from the valid lapping car. What can we expect in terms of the track to start the actual race?
So the race start will be fairly similar to what we've seen in qualifying at the moment. It should be around 9 or 10 degrees at the start. It might be optimum track rubbering, but it might be green as well. I'm not entirely too sure. But towards the end of the race, or sort of towards an hour into the race, we are going to get the sunrise. And the sunrise at Brands Hatch is brutal. I'm going to say that now. It's going into turn 1, you can't see a thing. So that's going to add some spice to the second hour of the race. But yeah, track-wise, it should end up around about 15 degrees by the end of the race, and obviously should be optimum as well.
This might be a challenge here. Oh, it would have been a challenge, I think, for pole position if Kennedy had just put up a 123.9. So an improvement here for the number 100 BMW, 24.5. Just about splitting the two, I guess, major second markers that you would usually expect. This is the McLaren in the pit right now that just took the provisional pole time. Only has 1 purple sector on their lap, though, is worth noting. So I'm looking down my timing sheet here. Granted, both Sector 1 and Sector 2, they're not purple, but they are very, very close to being purple. That makes me think that some of the times sitting at the top here might yet be good enough for pole with the drivers behind the wheel. More improvements coming down the field, though, to be expected. It does make me wonder, speaking from personal experience, this isn't really a normal time to be working on the setup, but I can only imagine that there's going to be a couple of drivers out there that are maybe messing with some rear toe angles specifically, or some ARB settings to try to get the maximum performance out of the car. I was talking about the outfield being a very difficult section of track. I could argue it's maybe even one of the more difficult sections of track in the entire game. Incredibly punishing, obviously. If you go wide, you're in the grass, it usually does not end well for you. Lots of time lost at the very least, and you'll be lucky to not make contact with somebody else coming back onto the circuit.
Yeah, another thing that these drivers have to watch for, obviously is not really important for qualifying, but the tyre degradation of Brands Hatch is slightly increased on some cars. I know myself in the Aston, I've struggled with the tyre degradation, getting slow punctures and stuff like that. It's going to be a thing that's on drivers' minds. 65-minute stint timer, you've got an hour of racing, you should be fine on that, but it will be in the back of drivers' minds, especially with temperatures out there.
Yeah, mercifully, the curbs here at Brands, compared to some other circuits, I will say, they're not as menacing as they could be, but
certainly not as bad as the Kyalami yellow curve.
Ooh, yeah. Talking about Cheetah.
Yep.
Boy. My friends and I, looks like it was set us a little bit wide, and I think it was number 1 machine invalidating their lap time. They were almost second up on their standing position. We're going to have to go again on that one, but like I say, lots and lots of time left on the board for qualifying. We're on board with Adam Check as they go across the line to take P10. Not a bad spot to start for sure. We have more characteristics of this track to really discuss. Kind of a flowing circuit. I mean, talking about tire degradation. Oh, there is one curve actually that I didn't mention at Druids. It's a little bit unfavorable on the apex if you get onto the power just a little bit too early. I know, speaking for the Porsche 992, it's not exactly like that section of track. You're going to have some really poor traction. Challenging for pole position here. This is Ryan Nickerson, who's about 2/10 up on their time through Sector 1. I mentioned that the purple sector for the provisional pole sitter was not too much faster than the next car down, and this would be the next car down. So if he can hold this advantage through the lap, might be able to take that away. 1:23.9 is a solid time for a green track, especially here for a split 2. Looks like a little bit of traffic might be in the way here.
Yeah, this was the main reason for splitting this race into 2 splits. Obviously, Brands Hatch is not a big circuit at all, and when you start getting into the 20 to 30 range of cars on track, it does get very difficult to find some space and find some decent areas to battle in. So, while it is a little bit of the less side of action with 20 cars, I think we're still going to get some close racing.
Yeah, he's had to bail out of that lap as well. The number 1 machine's going around one more time. Try to pick up their advantage. My race control must be bugging out. I see this car right now. They're on an invalid lap, but it shows that they're up about 8.7 seconds on their time, which I'm not inclined to believe. But seems dubious at best.
It would be a definite fastest lap. It might have to be an investigation into the cheat. But no, I think it's just a race control bug.
Yeah. They brought the Formula 1 machinery out to Brands Hatch today. Now that would be interesting. A Formula 1 GT3 multi-class race.
Yeah, well, if Automobilista had a bit more popularity in ACM, it's something we'd look into for sure.
You heard it here first, folks. ACM hosting the first multi-class with Formula 1 and GT cars. Coming your way.
Well, we've done trophy trucks and karts before, so that was fun.
This is on Assetto Corsa, I'm assuming.
It's on the Automobilista too.
Oh, there you go. The line, last corner here, with the opportunity to improve on their pole time. I think they've just about held an advantage through the last corner, but it's only going to be about a 100th of a second here. And not even half a 100th of a second. 5 thousandths of a second of improvement with Jack Kennedy. Seems like they might be holding on to it, though. I don't really see any major improvements going down the line. Harry, while I have you here, could I get you to take a look? I'm curious about the balance of performance. Who do we got hauling around extra weight here today, or who do we have who might be a little bit on the beneficial side of the custom balance of performance this race?
Yeah, so the custom balance of performance is per driver rather than per car, which is something unique to ACM, I think, for the most part. And is the aim of it is to bring the slower drivers forward, so we get slower, so we get some closer racing. So you'll see quite a lot of the drivers on the grid today do have minus ballast. We've got no one with positive. We do have quite a few on 0 kilograms added or taken. We have a couple of drivers. We have Marco Schick with minus 40 kilograms. We have a couple of drivers over Flynn with minus 29 kilograms. And then we've got one with just minus 1 kilogram as well. So yeah, hopefully we do get some close racing out of that. It does mean that obviously drivers are brought a lot closer together, which is the aim of it. And yeah, no one with the positive ballast today, so they've thankfully got out of that. But yeah.
We'll have to see if indeed Oliver Flynn does move up here, competing for 757 Motorsport. Big up 757. And presumably going to be starting the race for their team as well. They're not very, very far up the field. And in fact, it seems like we've already lost one machine. I'm seeing there's only 22 entrants listed on my timing sheet now, where I believe we started with 23. I wonder if one team might be retiring even before we began.
I think we just had one come back in, so they might have just been leaving and rejoining to fix something.
I surely hope so. And they're gone again one more time, according to my race control. So I hope they're having no major technical difficulties. I would surely hate for that to happen. Just Speaking on a personal note, I had a quick 75-minute Nordschleife. Oh dear, that is a car well around. There's yellow flags all over the circuits. I think that was Persky in the middle of the road. They were almost making contact with that other car. They were dutifully holding their brakes. But in any case, you know, hardware failure does happen occasionally. I had my computer decided to stop rendering frames as quickly as I would like, and quickly became undrivable. That was the end of the story for my race. So hopefully they are having better luck than I did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, I've suffered with computer problems recently. It's obviously the bane of sim races, hardware, software. You just want to race at the end of the day, and yeah, hopefully no one has any major problems today. And hopefully as well the server doesn't have any problems. I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that side.
It's only 4 hours, so I'm sorely hoping that we don't have any issues. I know, you know, doing endurance racing, not insignificantly in terms of quantity of late, servers can be a little bit, what's the word I'm looking for? Temperamental when you get into the longer races, especially with big grids. I know Spa, very, very large grids of cars tend to induce some instability, if you will. Could be slightly problematic. But I feel like I've got a good feeling about this one personally. I don't know about you, Harry.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, Spa, the last round of the Endurance Series was at Spa. We did have 3 splits in that one, each one having around about 50 cars on track. So that was pretty mega. And you know, you say servers are temperamental, but the last time out we had 3 splits and only 1 actually had server problems. So it was a good sort of round with that. So fingers crossed and hopes up for today.
Only had one that had server problems, and it happened to be the split that I participated in. Although I wasn't there, in fairness, as Gonzalez looked like they're going to bail out of their lap there. Druid's left the car behind by. I'm not really seeing too many more major improvements, and I was expecting some track evolution, but it seems like I have been sorely mistaken. We're still green more than 20 minutes into this qualifying session, even with 22 cars circulating. So
yeah, well, temperatures are quite cool, and it is the UK, so you can't expect too much sun. But track is getting brighter. We do have 18 viewers in currently. If you've got someone that you want us to look at specifically, just let us know. You've got any questions, just post it in the chat.
And speaking on that, I should probably actually bring up the YouTube channel, shouldn't I? So I can see the chat, hopefully. We shall have to do it. Yeah, I don't expect to see too many more major improvements at this point in time. You can see there's quite a close margin here, though, at the top. Van Sust trying to look for an improvement here late in the session. They might be able to snag P2 away from Nickerson, or maybe even pole position if they can put the lap together. They're about a 10th up right now into the middle, straight up towards turn 5, but they did lose a little bit of time there on the exit. The track has now evolved into fast, so for the quicker drivers out there, there might be a free 10th or 2 on the circuit right now, and you've got a couple of laps at the very least try and make something happen. So I guess my prediction did come true after all. We ended up seeing a little bit of evolution into fast territory, especially from green. That's going to be quite a significant potential change in the level of grip. Almost a half-second gain there for Van Soest in what was the penultimate corner of the track. Can they find that time advantage here heading into the main straight? It looks like they are increasing their delta just a little bit. Is it good enough for an improvement? Not quite. Still 24.02 and 600ths off of P2.
Yeah, that's very close to that. I mean, the top 3 here is mental. They're all within 1/10 of a second of each other. And considering the track temperature, the track obviously rubbered in, it should be a pretty good race between these guys, and I'm hoping that they can keep it going throughout the entire 4 hours.
You and me both. It would be phenomenal to see some racing all the way from the green flag until the checkered. I'm curious now. My race control is still showing about a 7-second improvement here for Gonzalez as they come up to the line. That's not accurate for sure, and they will not find any change in their qualifying time here. Doesn't look like the predicted improvements are coming as thick and fast as I had initially expected. P1 and P3 cars are finding a small improvements. There's a chance for some movement up the field here for the 343 machine, rocking that number 46 livery. So only slightly confusing there as they make their way through the outfield, but I'm sure we'll get past it.
Yeah, Nickerson was just going through to set another lap and they ended up spinning on the final corner, strangely enough. So they're going to be going out for the final 5 minutes to see if they can get that 200th of a second improvement. But currently, as it stands, Kennedy's comfortably in P1.
Looks like Van Soest returned to the pits as well, so they're not improving. Kennedy's not improving on an invalid lap right now. Most likely on an outlap of some variety. We've got 1 degree of track temperature that's going to have a less pronounced impact than the improvement from green to fast. Vandenberger in the outfield, that's going to be wide and an invalid lap. You can tell that the drivers are really pushing to try to take advantage of the track evolution, but it seems like we're having some trouble keeping it inside the white lines. Potential improvement on the board here from Macho Peas in through turn, I believe that was turn 8, out of the outfield, in towards the final corner on the track here into Clark Curve. And will they hold the advantage? It does not look like it. Only about a 10th in the bucket. It might be good for 1 position when you're so far down the order here for lap 1. I don't think it's going to make a huge difference either way. You did make it up. That's P15 there for the 105 Ferrari.
Talk about track evolution, we have gone up 1 degree now as well, so this final 4 minutes, drivers are going to be trying to make the most of that. I'm sure that's only a couple hundred seconds, but as we know in racing, that does mean everything.
Can indeed. Only 4 minutes and change here to go in qualifying, so the fastest cars on track are going to have to start to make their play. Nickerson and Van Soest are out on the circuit right now on an out lap. Kennedy is on a valid hot lap at the moment, but it looks like there is no improvement at present, and most of the problem corners are behind them at this point, unless they've made a significant mistake here in the closing stages of the circuit. It looks like they might have just picked up a little bit, about a half second of delta in turn 8, in towards turn 9, the final one on the track. It's a very key traction zone, especially with the track evolution. This could be a big opportunity for an improvement, and it looks like they are getting a little bit of time. Not the gigantic improvement they were hoping for, but certainly a quality step up to 123.867, pushing the bar just that little bit further. And immediately invalidating their following laps that they're going to have to go around again if they want to try to improve a second time.
Looking at the leaderboard, obviously we're going into the final 3 minutes of qualifying now, but actually the entire leaderboard is fairly close to each other. I think we've got 10 or so drivers within 1 second of each other, and then another 10 within another second of each other, so we could be in for some proper good racing across the entire grid, supposedly making it through lap 1.
Perhaps we should have had a Pro-Am kind of event here. Driver balance of performance and then splitting into Pro-Am. That was a good gain there in the last corner there for David Baldo here as he comes up to the line just now, and it's going to be an improvement. They did have a little bit of a bumble though in the outfield, so an easy opportunity for some gains on that front. Van Soest is half a second and change up on their time as they navigate the Lamborghini again here through the very difficult Sector 3 of this track here, trying to take as much curb on the inside as you possibly can to carry that speed. It looks like they're losing a little bit of time in these corners, missing the apex slightly, and they're gonna have to take another try if they want to nail down pole position. Another car starting their lap. It's Nickerson, one of the other vehicles in the conversation for pole position. Out of Druids, and with about a 10th in hand, so it continues to sway the balance here. We'll see if they can carry that all the way to turn. Wow, that was a lot of time gained. Very difficult traction zone there in turn 4. They're about a 10th up, although I'm looking at Kennedy's time, and they are also improving. The most difficult corners on the track, a little bit too much of the apex curving, and they had to be late on the power as a result, get that stability back in the car, and now they're just a little bit overdriving. They haven't validated their lap time. This is what I'm here for. This is exactly what we wanted out of the qualifying session in the closing hours, the 11th hour of this quali. Starting to finally get big action, and Kennedy does have another improvement in hand. Is there going to be traffic that gets in the way? Nicely apexing that corner, carry the speed down on the throttle as early as you could possibly get. The lights are flashing. They don't want to have to check up here in turn 9, and they're going to take it just a little bit wide of the apex, and it looks like all of that time they had in hand, about a 10th of an improvement, is gone out the window. Will very slightly improve with that toe in towards Paddock Hill Bend, but it will not be that big of an improvement, especially compared to the two cars improving behind, already starting their lap. About 2/10 up here is Nickerson, leading in to turn 3 Grand Hill Bend. And then Soest is also improving, not too far behind, actually about to complete their lap and will take P2 away. Not quite there for pole position, and they're not going to start another lap. They had traffic in the way. Kennedy has invalidated their current lap, so that is going to be where they stand with a 123.8 to finish here. Nickerson has 3, almost 4/10 in hand into the outfield section here of Brands Hatch, and it looks like this is just about theirs to take if they can just hold it together for the end of this lap here, Harry.
Yeah, well, obviously the drivers can't start another lap now, so they are going to be looking to see what they can do in these final 20 or so seconds. And obviously this does define where they start for the 4-hour race, and you know, starting position can define the rest of the race.
Coming up to turn number 9, the final on the track. Almost half of a second of improvement, looking at a 123 low, and it is absolutely no contest here as the A75 machine climbs to the top of the timesheet. A 23.447 and a major improvement. The biggest, potentially, that we've seen in the entire session from anybody in the top 5, and that will be pole position for Ryan Nickerson. What a lap at the end. Really pulled it all together there at the final moment.
Yeah, fantastic performance. I mean, 4:10, so it doesn't really matter too much as the other guys had already finished qualifying, but just setting that precedent of being, you know, 4:10 faster than everyone else is enough to, you know, instill a bit of fear into the drivers behind and, you know, set the pace for the race.
Set the tone for the race. I mean, if you take pole position by 1/10, fair play, you know. Still, every opportunity for the cars behind to get an opportunity as Macho P's will round out our qualifying session here. No improvement as they cross the line. And will stay in P16. But a 4/10 gap to P2 is not unheard of, but it's a way to make a statement, to get in the heads of your opposition before the race even starts. I'm assuming that Nickerson is going to be in the car for the start of the session, but you do know what happens when you assume, and we're not here to do that, so we'll wait and find out what happens as we prepare for the lights to go out. But looking at the sheet here, BMWs heavily populating the server and more or less populating the top 10 here with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that machines? From 4th to 10th position. So it's a bit of an interesting spread.
Yeah, it's not common that you see BMWs being dominating the charts nowadays. It's usually Ferraris, but to be honest, we've only got 4 on the grid, which is, yeah, it's a surprise to see.
Indeed it is, and the leading vehicle for the Prancing Horses tonight is going to be Villius. Oh boy. We're just going to leave it there, actually, you know? We were talking about this before the stream starts. I'm an American commentator. I must extend my sincerest apologies in the event that I mispronounce somebody's name. I will do my best, but there are no promises. So I do apologize, but we'll give it one more shot. You know, now with that disclaimer around the world, I think we'll give it one more shot. So I'm going to go with Villius Lulis. I don't think that's right. So I'm just going to try to avoid saying it again. But still a very solid qualifying position. Car number 1 there in the Ferrari 296 GT3. Which I must say, Harry, for me, it's the lesser of 2 Ferraris. I'm just going to say it. You know, it might have the better overall performance over the entire, you know, the entire track roster. But I personally do not enjoy it as much as the 488.
Yeah, I mean, I gave it a go the other day on Nordschleife, and it was actually quite fun. But it was certainly a death trap when it came to the curbs.
I definitely believe that.
Yeah, I didn't survive very long. I think it was maybe half a lap before I was sat facing the wrong way with 50 or so cars approaching. But yeah.
We got a 1-2 start here for CI Motorsports. Nickerson leading from Kennedy as we prepare to get underway with the formation lap. Both in the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo. Again, notable in this particular instance for having a couple of representatives right out at the front of the field, and then the remaining two vehicles further down the order, P13, P19 respectively. Lamborghini in the same situation here. Van Soest in the Iron Lynx Lamborghini, which you don't have any customs going on. But in fairness, I did maybe forget to sync with my awesome sim racing anyway, so I must apologize if there are any carbon fiber vehicles out there on track today. I am absolutely dead certain that you have wonderful, just the best liveries. I won't be able to see them more likely because I have not synced my ASR, but Van Soest in the number 52 machine, starting in P3. First BMW on the order, Alex Lynham for FL5 Esports. And then as before, Wallbangers Racing Team number 2 with the name that I shall not say again for fear of mispronouncing it and misrepresenting that driver, who I'm sure is an upstanding citizen. So just a wonderful member of society in general. More BMWs to follow though, and it is just a huge list of German machines.
Good to see a couple Lamborghinis on here as well, though. It's not one that you see regularly nowadays, and we've actually got 2 on the grid today, which is, like I said, it's good to see.
I can't help but feel like the Lamborghini, to me, would be somewhat strong. Reasonable, high downforce. Braking is a challenge here sometimes, especially through Paddock Hill. You can get a little bit of understeer on the entry, or oversteer if you're not careful, you have the wrong setup. Druids is really the same. A couple of pit lane starters for today. I do not recall what their qualifying time was, but it seems like Nadeshiko and Schick both going to be starting from the pits, and that's the only, excuse me, not the only Aston Martin on the grid. But Calf is also starting in 16th position today. .1992 that we have on track, starting with Francesco Fina in the car. So it looks like I think we're about ready to go double file, head down towards the lights. Harry, any predictions here for the beginning of the race?
Well, what I'd like it to be is a nice clean turn 1, a nice clean turn 2, and a nice clean first lap, and then we get some nice gritty battles going on. That's what I hope, at least from a stewarding perspective anyhow.
Cannot help but agree, so as we get ready to go here.
I was going to say P1 and P2, they're both racing for the same team, so hopefully it's a 1-2 for them at the end of this race.
Hopefully for their sake. CI Motorsports leading, as you mentioned, 1-2 as the lights are prepared to go out. Drivers in their grid positions, and it looks like it is going to be green light for the 4 hours of Brands Hatch here for the ACM 2025 Endurance Series. It's a good getaway for the 2 leaders, nearabouts 3 wide in the back as all of those German machines start to get away from the line. It does look like everybody's being nice and respectful here through turn 1. Druids has also got a lot of space being afforded, not necessarily a whole lot of battling going on at present. I don't think anybody wants to draw a severe incident. And through turn 3, again, looking pretty nice and steady. Vandenberger going up here against, I believe that's Alvarez in the other BMW. It's a very difficult traction zone to get right on the outside, but they're going to be side by side through turn 4, and it looks like I see 0 yellow flags and Ryan Nickerson disappearing into the distance. Already a 1.3 second gap. The cars behind started to file in through near about single file. Some more movement further down the field. Macho Peas is getting into a bit of a fight here with Adamczyk, and it looks like they're going to keep it clean too. Oh, and I say that right as he goes into the barrier, turned across the nose of the BMW and out on the side of the track. Oh no, disaster strikes to the 105.
Yeah, I think what happened with that one is I think he thought he was clear of the car behind and actually turned across the front of him and then, you know, spun himself out. So, yeah, it's unfortunate to see, but you got to be aware of your surroundings, especially at Brands Hatch. It's very unforgiving.
That ball out at turn 9 did not last long. Raymond Vensos is already shaping up here for a move against the 378, but he's got company. Line him with no gap at all. That is just nose to tail. Contact is made, and the Lamborghini thankfully stays in the right direction. And Line is going to pick up that position, presently speaking, almost looking for a move up the inside is the Ferrari behind. I think they're going to think better of that one. Thank goodness that Lamborghini did not go around. I would have hated to see that. One of the cars competing at the front, the 666, has gone around in the background. The BMW completely the wrong way into the barrier near the apex of Druids. I believe Metcalf was also implicated in that incident one way or another. But not exactly the greatest scenes here to start the race as Vensos is looking for a return up the order here.
Yeah, I mean, it's thankfully not been too bad of a start. Split 1 I think has had a few incidents as well, but Split 2 certainly had a lot more door banging. Looks like we've got car 14 that's having a spin at the moment, car 100 maybe being involved in that as well. They've thankfully both got going again.
That was close. Oh, that's very, very close, car 14. Oh no, there's another potential incident there. Car 44 completely around there. That's Xavier. He's going to be moving across the track in the wrong direction. I think there was more movement further up the field as the car was slow up, but plenty of small damages for cars, perhaps some scrub tires, and plenty of, I think, avoidable instances there for some of our drivers. Here's Francesco Fina with a car behind for company into Paddock Hill Bend. It looks like they're going to keep that one clean. Might have an opportunity on McLaren. Looked like they were a little bit slow at the apex, but will sort itself out as we move into the more conventional single file racing. As, oh, that's some cars well wide there. They will keep it under control though. Interesting start, that's for sure, but moving back over to the front of the field, Nickerson, a 5.1 second gap to the car behind. That's Kennedy still maintaining that P2 spot with Lynham for company, but that could not have been a better start for the CI Motorsports vehicle starting on the front row.
Absolutely, both cars keeping their P1 and P2 respectively. Obviously, Kennedy dropped a little bit back from his teammate, but as long as they keep their P1 and P2, it doesn't really matter how big the gap is. But yeah, Nixon is all the way up and gone really. That's a 6-second gap that he's got there.
Beckenham trying it on the outside. Oh my goodness, then how? Space afforded there by Persky in the 57 BMW, I think, thinking better of getting into a major fight there with Xavi. Tears by the outfield. Very nicely done move there. Francesco Fina still shaping up for an attack here against the McLaren in front through Paddock Hill. Just not quite the run there for the Porsche. We were talking more about, oh, there's a yellow flag in the back, or not a yellow flag, just coming into the pit lane with a lot of damage, I might add, as Adamczyk in the BMW is going to offset their pit cycle, so they might have an opportunity to pull something cheeky, especially in a 4-hour race. Everybody's already thinking about the optimal pit cycle and where they're going to come out in relation to other cars. At least that's what I would be doing if I was them. Granted, I would not be doing a very good job of thinking about it, but I would at least be thinking about it, Harry. I mean, what are you looking at in terms of, obviously it's damage that has to be repaired. Do you think they still got a chance in this race if they can game the pit cycle?
Well, that's the thing with endurance racing, and this is why it's so fun. I mean, endurance racing is great for the pit stop cycles. You can really be smart with the strategy. I did a Nordschleifer race not too long ago where I managed to actually put myself into P1 and P3 just by getting a good strategy. So, I mean, yeah, 4 hours, it's not the longest of races, but it's certainly possible to get yourself up into the positions, even if you do have damage and an extra pit stop.
You know what's crazy, Harry? I think I remember that specific race you were talking about because I was only a couple positions behind you, I have to say. From experience, yeah, it was a pretty good strategy, as I think. Oh my goodness, Beckenham is already shaping up for a move. Tore by Francesco Fina and immediately through Ralmats as well. Beckenham is on a mission here, I believe. They might have been. No, they were not one of the big losers. They actually started 20th on the grid. They're already up 10 positions in the race so far. Further back, a little bit of a battle going on here between the 246, 664, and the number 19 machines all together, and there's a slight bit of contact there. They stay facing the right direction, but the BMW is going to go through here. That's the number 19 of Nadeshiko, who did start from the pit lane, if my memory is correct. A little bit of door banging here and again. Some questionable, some cut and dry, as we said.
Yeah, we've currently got 16 incidents in Split 2 and 7 in Split 1, so that gives a bit of perspective of things. Obviously, Split 1 has, I think, 3 less drivers than Split 2 does. Yeah, it's a good start. So.
Ooh, the 246 is thinking about that thing. Space was just about afforded there. This is close racing. This is what you love to see. 246 is going to try it on the outside. They're near about to go 3 wide here into turn 9 with a car behind as well. It looks like they're trying to get it done, but a little bit more argy-bargy here, and they are certainly going after it. This is the midfield fight that we wanted to see. I'm seeing further up the field, Van Soest has made a move. Vegahaupt has made another one as well. We didn't quite catch those on cam, but we are on board with what seems like it's going to be our big midfield battle for the race, if indeed the remaining drivers on the teams for these cars are about as aggressive as they are, just barely leaving each other space, but leaving each other space indeed. That's some quality racing. Nice overtake there by Nadeshiko.
Yeah, it's great to see these guys racing so close to each other, especially on Brands Hatch. It's like I've been saying the entire time, it's such a difficult circuit to go side by side for so long on here. We've been having some great racing so far. We've been having some door bagging as well, but that does come as a byproduct of close racing.
That's the thing, right? You know, there's a fine line between door banging and big contact. Oh, that's a huge off for Francesco Fina. He's going to keep it under control, losing 1, almost 2 spaces as there's an opportunistic BMW coming up on the inside. Oh, they're going to make it. No, they're not. It looked for a moment they were going to try and make it 3 wide. Bit of door banging there. Francesco is seen off the track yet again, more positions down. And you can see penalties starting to come down the list on the left-hand side on the timings page. I think 5 or so cars just got past of the 992. Vegahaupt is making another move. Oliver Flynn in the 757 Motorsport BMW is losing out of position this time. And it seems like drivers have been perfectly happy to allow that Lamborghini to go on through, recognizing the pace differential for the car that started well down the order in comparison to what it seems like their potential is. So I'm wondering if the 245 might have the chance to compete near the top. More action into Druids. That's an accident up the inside. The 664 cannot make the move, and that's contact, I believe, sorting that one out on its own.
Yeah, we are sort of seeing the splits in performance now. You can see the two CI Motorsports up at the front. They've got the nice clean gap, but behind them we've got a good grouping of cars from number 68 down until 4, and after that 126 until 985.
It is just a Christmas tree on the left side of my screen. 10 seconds for car 25, 5 seconds of penalties for car 57, 5 for 985, 664, 105, 46, 44, has 20 seconds worth of penalties. Oh boy, I do seem to recall they were involved in a not insignificant wreck. It did happen on lap 1. We nearly made it through lap 1 completely cleanly, I might say. Let's return to the action towards the front of the field. I missed a couple of moves for these drivers up here earlier. I mentioned there's plenty going on in the midfield. And as you so astutely pointed out in the qualifying session, we had quite a few cars that were close together. And they did provide some entertaining moments there for us. I'm kind of hoping that they produce a little bit more of that, even if it was a bit of door banging. I've just seen Persky has lost a position there to Van den Berge front. Panic kill. Gap starting to extend as we get into the race proper. Raymond Van Soest still looking to return to that podium position after they received a little bit of contact from the car in front. That's the 68 BMW of Lynham in front, and I believe I actually saw Van Soest flashing the car in front out of Paddock Hill Bend, presumably trying to usher the vehicle in third place right now to surrender that position for an unfairly gained advantage.
We've got, I think as you've been saying, quite a few penalties on the side now. Quite a grouping of it as well down between P14 and P18, which is interesting to see.
My goodness. Vegahopp's making another move. And looking at the timing sheet right now, purple lap of the race, unsurprisingly held by the lead car. It's the number 875 of Ryan Nickerson. It's a 124.485. Last lap they did a 124.98. Vegahopt, their best lap is a 124.7, and they've been in traffic practically the entire race. This is a vehicle that is looking to move not just well up the field, but almost all the way to the top. Just a four-hour race. They started in 20th, and they're already only 15.7 seconds off of the leader. This is a rapid driver right now. Let's see, there's been another move here. Lineham, I think, might have gone a little bit wide there. I was tracking that delta on my race control. Might have gone a little, just that tiniest little bit too far out towards the grass in that first corner of the outfield section, and that allowed the Lamborghini to go through. I'm sure that Van Soest is going to be happy about that one, but they're not done with this battle just yet. Potentially looking for a move up the inside here of turn 9. I don't think it's going to happen. A little bit of a defensive shape shown there by the Lamborghini in front, and a little bit of grass on the apex for the BMW behind. I think that should just about be the end of that discussion. But the leading Ferrari might have something to say about this as they head in towards Paddock Hill Bend, potentially looking for a better exit, trying to use that arrow. The Lamborghini's got a bit of a slide, no contact made, but they're well off the course. Van Soest, a huge moment there at Paddock Hill, and thank goodness they keep it in the right direction. That's even going to allow Vegahopp to get through at Druids. Space is afforded on the rejoin, and that's a space up the order for the number 60 and the number 1, and now it's an instant opportunity for Lulis to try to make a move on the BMW. There's not an opportunity, and oh no, Flynn is just at a yellow flag. They lose a position. Thank goodness, again, they're not off the circuit. Big moments in the race. It feels like we've already had an entire race worth of action here, Harry, and we're only 14 minutes in. Imagine that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how contact wasn't made there between that Lamborghini and BMW. I was sort of clenching there when I saw the thing happen, but yeah, it must have been millimetres worth of room. Thankfully, Lamborghini got back on track. Did unfortunately lose a couple of positions, but could have definitely been a lot worse.
Was it off there with the number 1 Ferrari? And again, Vegahopp is hounding these cars with an invalid 124.8 on their last go around. There is something we haven't really talked about. Potential for drive-through penalties at this circuit. To me, feels like it's going to be on the lower side. Paddock Hill, I suppose, on the exit, you could potentially expect to see a cut. Exit turn 3, excuse me. You could expect to maybe catch a track cut here and again if you're not careful. But what are we realistically expecting? There's a lot of action. Oh, that's a bit of contact, and oh, things are getting hairy down here at Druids. That's the 151 car. That's 4th position. I believe there's a blue flag in the mix as well. That McLaren, who makes contact with the 151 car and gets spun around. That is blue flag traffic contact in the 46 machine. Has just broken up that fight in the worst way possible, as the 151 was forced to slow down, got past, and then was rear-ended by that McLaren. That is not what you want to see here. Blue flag traffic this early on must have had a big crash earlier that we didn't catch, and that is the worst way to get involved in a fight at the top.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looks like they got a little bit out of shape there. Maybe didn't expect so many cars to be passing or so many cars to be around them, and yeah, unfortunately made contact with that faster car. But they will unfortunately get a penalty for that. I mean, they already have a 5-second penalty, so that'll certainly affect their crawl back into the unlapping themselves.
There's an interesting one. Because obviously, Harry, you having the power of the penalty uniquely here in the comms box. Not something that we would normally see, but giving us a little bit of insight on that one.
Yeah, thankfully I've got a few stewards which are active today, so I've sort of monitoring the entire thing. But yeah, I've been looking over some of the incidents. Thankfully it's not been too bad. There's been a lot of slight door bagging and stuff like that. But the stewarding system at ACM fairly robust, and I think I've posted the link in the chat as well. It's all publicly available, so if anyone's interested in that, you can see it there.
Beckerhaupt well up the inside there. The number 1 machine is going to concede this position. I am almost dead certain. I have to check. Is this driver driving alone? They are not. I believe. Yeah, they also have another driver in their car, but they are just tearing up the field right about now. They've got the purple Sector 1 and Sector 2 for the race so far, and they're only about a 10th and change off of the purple Sector 3. Hop on board here. This is Nadeshiko shake up for a move against Baldo, and that is not a conventional place to go for one, but they make it stick against the number 4 Ferrari. That was a nice move there. Impressive stuff indeed.
Some fantastic liveries out on grid today, I've got to say. Some of these cars that I've been looking at have, I mean, I think you said that you've not seen the liveries, so you might have to look at them later, but no, there's some proper good ones out here.
I think, so I haven't synced liveries for ACM, but I think the last time I did race in ACM, I might have synced before then. So mercifully, it does appear that I have some of them, like the number 14 here. Or, excuse me, I think that might be a default livery actually for Team WRT. There's this guy Tempesta McLaren in front of him as well for the 126 machine. But I've definitely seen a couple of cars out there that don't look like stock. That's for sure. Kaspersky, oh dear. I've hopped on board at the worst moment.
Commentator's curse in action, Buck.
Well, I always say, one of my favorite things to say is I don't like to speak for the stewards. That seemed like a pretty cut and dry one. I don't know. What do you think, Harry?
Which was this? Sorry.
probably a little bit more busy looking at the stewarding sheet rather than the,
yeah.
The stream, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you'll find it soon enough. the Aston getting bumped by the car behind there, leading into turn 3. And so, still looking for a return to the podium positions. Down 2 places since race start. And oh my goodness, I looked away from my screen for 1 second and instantly there was action. That was the Ferrari getting into contact with, I believe, that BMW or perhaps some blue flag traffic. Maybe even one of the Aston Martins. That might have been Marco Schick there. It certainly has been an eventful 20 minutes of racing. Not necessarily in all of the ways that I would like, though. Beckerhaupt is still chasing down. The leaders of this race has run a 124.5 on their last lap, and they've got a little bit of traffic in front of them with a 68 BMW, who, depending on who you ask, they've acquired some ill-gotten gains so far in this contest. Working towards the inside here is the number 245 machine. Will they be able to make the move into the final corner? They will. There wasn't much defense shown there from the BMW. Oh, that's a huge spin! Beckerhaupt put the rear left onto the grass and instantly spun the Lamborghini in the traction zone. Kept it on circuit, but is going to lose mountains of race time on what appeared to be one of the best race stories that we've had so far. Going to be cooking their tires, that's for sure. But for their story, that is just horrid. We'll have to see if they can recover from that one. Oh, and Vandenberg has also just had a spin, right into the car beside them. Thank goodness for that McLaren, they didn't take too big of a hit. That might be a little bit of damage. Oh my goodness, I was just saying it. I thought we were calming down. We've had an eventful race, not in the ways I would like to see. Harry, how's the stewarding sheet looking on your side?
We finally caught up to the incidents in the race. We're currently on 32 incidents that have happened. Split 1, for reference, has got 14. So yeah, double the amount in Split 2. And yeah, certainly quite a lot of cars with some hefty penalties on them. We've got 25 seconds for Gondek in the number 46 car, and 20 seconds for the number 44 car as well. So yeah, a couple incidents, a couple highlighted drivers that we're currently monitoring, but nothing too bad so far.
That big mix-up with Vega Haupt. I wonder if their tires are still going to be with them. Hopefully things start to calm down a little bit, though. It looked like we were in for a somewhat clean race earlier on in the first stint, as it looks like the sun is set to come over the horizon soon enough. We're just about to hit 5 a.m. here. I'm American, right? We have a specific responsibility to not regard anything English as wonderful. But I must say, I'm gonna have to go against the grain this time and call it the wonderful Brands Hatch circuit.
It is a good circuit, and
it is
as we're about to find out soon enough, that sunrise is brutal for these drivers. We've done races before where it's at sunrise, and you truly cannot see a single thing. I think I drove the race myself, and I was thinking this is like the actual sun in real life. It's that bright.
Goodness gracious.
So yeah, could spark some more spinners. Could spark some good action. So yeah, we'll get to it soon. It's track conditions actually. I know we're on about that quite a lot in qualifying. Is still on fast. Still got 10 degrees and 10 degrees. So no major change there. We're yet to reach the optimal levels, but it just goes to show that it's a lot easier to spin in these conditions, to be honest.
Yeah, for a driver like Vega Haupt there at the front, or at least should more likely than not be at the front, as Van Soest, I just missed it, got past Lynham. A 1 second gap, which seems to be a bit of a strangity. I hesitate to use a 15-second replay with my race control. I've had issues with that crashing in the past, which is why when I miss an overtake, I have not been going back for it. So my apologies to any viewers that might be off-put by that. But Vega Haupt's getting past Lynham there. Or excuse me, Van Soest getting past Lynham with a sizable gap. Makes me think there might have been an error on the part of the BMW. This is Nanashika looking for the inside move against the 25 car of Oliver Flynn, and they will just about get that one done. 2 carbon fiber BMWs from my point of view. Again, my apologies for not syncing the awesome sim racing. But big up 757, you've actually made up quite a bit of ground. It seems, although now I'm looking at the qualifying order, they were already in 10th. I feel like it was I don't remember them being that high up the order, but hey, you know what? Top 10. Can't complain about that, especially in the field with drivers like Nixon, Kennedy, Van Soest, and Vega Haupt all out from there in terms of pace, at the very least. Lynham is really the only outlier in terms of car engine layouts. We've got a lot of mid-engines leading the way, with 2 McLarens out in front, a Lamborghini finishing off the podium. That's the car right in front of the 68 machine we're focused on now, and a Ferrari and another Lamborghini actually just behind him. Vega Haupt has now taken the purple lap of the race at 124.44, only a little bit faster than the race leader. The race leader also did that time on much fresher tires. Vega Haupt had that spin, which certainly can't have helped.
But he's making a good comeback though. He's already up into P5 and he's got fastest lap of the race as well.
I wonder if they've been playing a game of some variety with the remainder of the field. I'm not going to call it sandbagging. Let's make one thing quite clear. But they might have been hiding their true potential pace. Or perhaps they're just that good in race trim. It's entirely possible that they just decided to practice only on full field. It would not be the first time I've seen something to that sort of effect. They're still 21 seconds off of the lead. At one point they were 15 at closing. I think that spin though did them in. And well, we just had somebody hop into the booth for a moment and then immediately went out. I was so ready to welcome in a new face. Another purple lap. 124.2, Harry. What's going on?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, he's making a comeback. He's got a nice clean gap at the moment with nothing in front or behind. So, I mean, yeah, just making the most of that. And has already got up to line as well, actually, with only 1.6 seconds compared to the 5 that it previously was. So we can only expect this to increase. I think we'll see some probably mid 123 fastest laps today once the track sort of settles in. But yeah, fantastic race with the number 245.
I think that's the only real way to put it. Aside from that one blemish they have on their record, they have put in a stellar first stint of this race so far. They've still got about half of it left to go. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it should be roughly a 65-minute stint timer, I think, is the industry standard. I'm going to take the lack of response as an indication that I am correct.
I was slightly distracted from the stewarding.
Yeah, no worries at all. But I know for specifically the Williams Nordschleifer race that we ran, you and I, and not only that, but the Williams Gaming Club, I think, has the standard of actually running 50-minute stint timers, which is slightly out of the ordinary. But that's neither here nor there.
We usually go for 65 just so it rounds out the each car. I mean, we might consider in the future doing some random ones like 70 or 75 minutes, but to be honest, I think 65 is sort of a good all-rounder.
See a yellow flag for the number 44 off the circuit near the entry to this looks like it was a spin there out on the exit of Druids. Make sure to resave jointly, my friend. It does seem like they are heeding the warning of the marshal on the right-hand side. They get their car back on circuit, still in last place, but with 40 seconds of penalties for the car ahead on track. It does kind of feel like they might still have a shot, even though they're carrying 20 seconds worth of, what's the opposite of brownie points? I don't know. But either way, they've got their own things to worry about. Vega hopped already up onto the back of Lynham once again. You made the move once, you immediately lost it, and Lynham makes a mistake. Lamborghini is through yet again. P4! And only 20 seconds of a gap to the lead here for the Lamborghini that has been absolutely carving up the remainder of the field. They did a 24.3 on their last lap, and let's see what they do here as they come up to Paddock Hill Bend. That's blue flag traffic in front of McLaren, which I think has been involved in a couple of incidents so far. You see 45 seconds of penalties for that car in front, so hopefully things go well as they try to navigate blue flag traffic. And oh, there goes the 46. A little loss of rear traction there. And thankfully for the Lamborghini, will be safe navigation. Speaking of safe navigation, Natashiko up the inside of Baldo into Druids. Nice move.
Yeah, car 46 has managed to acquire 45 seconds worth of penalties in the first half an hour. They're actually only 4 penalty points away from disqualification as it currently stands by the book. So, yeah, might be a short race for the number 46.
I surely hope that we don't end up having to use that tool. But the rules are the rules for a reason. We're trying to keep it clean. The drivers up front.
Yeah, I mean, endurance is probably not the easiest way to get started in a sim racing career. Obviously, if you're new to sim racing, just start for the sprints, get used to how the game works, get used to the rules and stuff. I mean, the majority of the issues that car 46 is experiencing is with the blue flags. So I think after the race, we'll definitely pull them aside and give them a bit of coaching. That's what we do here at ACM. We're open to everyone. We just like you to follow the rules, basically.
I feel like that's a pervasive feeling throughout the sim racing community too. Nobody is stingy with tips on how to improve your racecraft, as they will allow through a couple of cars here. That's the number 46, and might maybe even give a bit of an opportunity here to the 151 in towards Paddock Hill against Oliver Flynn, who does leave, I think, a little bit more space than was necessarily owed there on the inside. Will not have an opportunity for a return move, maybe looking for the traction out here of Druids, but the gap is a little bit too large. They might have to start thinking about the car behind. There's another position lost there for the number 25 car, 757 Motorsport. Tucker Hobbs continues to set blistering lap times. We see a yellow flag. That's Fina Off again in that Porsche. Exit turn 3, they get it gathered up yet again. Being partial to Porsche myself in terms of manufacturer, I'm a little bit sad to see them running down the order, but only 5 seconds of penalties. At least they run a reasonably clean race. I cannot submit that I have been an entirely clean racer in my history with ACM in endurance. Not a fact I'm proud of, granted, but
we all start somewhere.
we all start. What the heck's that supposed to mean? Oh, Alvarez. That's about to be 985 goes by, number 14 goes by, and it's going to be hopefully a safe rejoin here for Alvarez, who looks to have just gone off exit turn 7. Not a strange place, I would say, to meet your fate in the barrier. Couple of low gaps here. P6, P7 doing battle. Presently speaking, at Alessandro Mallorca looking for an attack against the Ferrari in front. That gap seems to be stagnating a little bit for them, so might be Flintland looking to make a return move against that similar machinery in front. But as I mentioned, they've got company, 246 behind, still definitely in striking distance. Brands Hatch, certainly a track where if you try to make an attacking posture and you don't succeed, things can go poorly for you when you've got company behind. Looks like the race leader's coming up along a little bit of blue flag traffic here. Nickerson still has a 12-second gap to the car behind. And Kennedy themselves in P2. 4 more to the final car on the podium. Van Soest. It looks like they might have some company with Vegahaupt. I've just seen a couple of cars have left the server. Harry, any details on that? I don't see anything on the right-hand side of my screen.
That was actually car 46, unfortunately being disqualified. They did reach the penalty point limit, and yeah.
You hate to see it. But again, rules are rules. You know, gotta keep it clean. Don't want to see the leader get into an incident through no fault of their own. And as you mentioned, I mean, endurance racing, clues in the name, right? One of the more challenging facets of motorsport. For a newer driver, especially to tackle this kind of event, is bold. I will give them that. Wise, I am less certain. But
yeah, I mean, I know certainly for me, I'd rather start on sprint races just to get accustomed to racing and rules and stuff. And you know, going into sim racing blind and starting off with a 4-hour race when fatigue starts to kick in and stuff like that is, you don't want it.
Keep an eye on Vegahaupt. Picking up a toe on the straight here. Leading in towards turn 1, and it seems like that sun is about to come over the horizon. I think second here, Harry. But we're still on a fast track, 10 and 10 degrees. Van Soest more than likely looking behind in mirrors. There's a little bit of, oh, excuse me, that's not blue flag traffic ahead. You can just barely see in this POV. That's Kennedy up the road. That's P2 in the McLaren for CI Motorsports. If you would, playing a little bit of rear gunner. Usually a theme that we see more common in Formula 1 is Baldo. Oh dear, that's not good. Baldo in Druids sent off, and I think that is indeed being sent off. There was very, very close racing between a couple of the cars there. And like I said before, I don't want to risk trying to run a replay and ending up having my game or worse PC crash. So I'm not going to try to get that one back, but I do think that looks like a situation where contact is not the least likely thing to happen. And if indeed that is the case, I can only assume it's going to be a sizable penalty, because that was a horrid accident there for the number 4. I'm thinking up the inside of turn 9. It was an aggressive move. They did force the 52 to afford just a little bit more space than they would have liked. Looking towards turn 1, just not quite the overlap there, but they're going to go for it. Up the inside here goes Xavi Vegahaupt, and another position gain up onto the podium. I don't think Van Sosa is really going to have a whole lot of opportunity to fight this one on the exit of Druids. Very cut and dry pass there, and an aggressive move through Paddock Hill, but cleanly done. Nice.
Well, it's good to see battles like that. It's like we've been saying throughout this race, especially Brands Hatch, is so difficult. So getting those in and getting those positions gained is really key.
Continuing to close down the gap to the leader. He's the number 245 machine. Nadeshiko is still looking to close up to the back of the car in front. That is the misnomered 343 in the 46 decal, being hounded by the car behind. Nadeshiko has not necessarily been a slow driver so far. Best lap of the race for that vehicle as the contact is made. Oh dear. Caught me looking at my race control again, and the Ferrari behind almost spins, trying to avoid making additional touches in that incident. She's got to be a little bit more patient than that. This is a quicker driver. You're going to get the move done eventually, and that was unfortunately going to be a big moment there for Ozduru as they drop down the order a couple of positions on what I would call ill-gotten gains there for the car now in P6.
Some good news, the sun is now officially up and above the horizon. We'll start seeing that affect the drivers soon enough. Through the final corner, it's already visible.
Final corner, you say? Oh, sorry, Alessandro, giving you a little bit of commentator's press on that one. Taking your canvas just to try to see the sunrise over Paddock Hill. And ended up having a bit of a moment there. Wide on the exit, Vandenberger looking for a potential move here against Francesco Fina, who's not had a race so far to write home about, but is still holding position in P14 at the moment. So looking at the race story so far here for Vandenberger, down 8 positions. So speaking of races not to write home about, this might be a qualifying event for the number 14 car. Although it seems like we're going to get one back here. BMW on the straight against the Porsche 992. Low as I am to say it, this seems like it's going to be a pretty open and shut case. They will take the position leading into turn 5. Clean move. Something that seems like we've been having a real toss-up as to whether or not moves have been clean so far this race, but I think now we're starting to get into territory of the race where you can expect to see more and more movement that does not involve contact.
Apologise, I'm going to go get some lunch. I'll be back in about 15 minutes or so.
Dude, thanks much, Harry. Fina's having another look at this. In towards Paddock Hill on the inside of the car that just overtook them on the last lap, and there's not much of a defense offered here by the BMW, looking though for the switchback in towards Druids, and Vandenberger is going to retake that position immediately, and the 985 already looking for the outside move in towards turn 3. I don't think it's going to quite be there for them, and they continue to battle. Vegahop is just going through the field right about now. He's got the P2 car, was the P2 car. This gap closed insanely quickly. I completely missed it coming up. But Vegahop is through now to second position with only the leader ahead. I wonder if there was some blue flag interference there through that battle, and Francesco Fina has spun out there on the middle straight by the look of it. That is insane, though. I do see that the stream had a momentary hiccup there, but we should be all right now. I'm showing no drop frames on my end. I think that might have just been a little bit of ACC being, well, ACC. This appears to have brought Van Soest back into the conversation, though, to fight for a podium position yet again. An invalidated lap there. Kennedy went just a tiny bit wide there on the exit of the previous corner. Do have to be careful about the potential for drive-through penalties. I can see Nadeshiko has also picked up 15 seconds worth of penalties, and I'm not necessarily surprised by that. We saw some incidents that they got involved with. 44 having another moment in the background. about 40 minutes and change into this race. Most of the gaps have started to sort themselves out. This is by far the closest fight that we've got going on right now. This is Raymond Van Soest for Iron Lynx following Kennedy. That's the P3 car. It seems like they are having some trouble with blue flag traffic just about now, and this might be an opportunity for the Lamborghini to find a way through. They're going to be just a little bit later on the brakes onto the outside, but there's just no way through here for the McLaren. The BMW is holding the inside line, and it looks like they are going to lift off slightly to let the leading cars through, but not before causing a little bit of a stir there near the top. I don't know who exactly that is behind me. But I believe doing their due diligence. That's a bit deep there for Kennedy. And now an opportunity for Van Soest to try to make something happen here, as the McLaren is going to be on a slightly shallower line, leading towards turn 3. Lamborghini famously good on the brakes. Potential to go full move on the inside here, and there is a defensive posture shown by the McLaren. But now an opportunity on the exit for Van Soest onto the middle straight. It looks like the power app is good though for Kennedy. They will live to fight another day. Wonderful battling going on there. Flynn has lost another position in the background here against Kuij, who is starting to close the gap slowly and slowly and slowly. Although he's just lost another position to Ramat, this time making their way through. Just as I was mentioning, the gap starting to close down a little bit, or excuse me, open up a little bit. Some movement further down the order, and so still keeping up here behind Kennedy. No blue flags to interfere this time. Toe leading in towards Paddock Hill is not going to be nearly enough here for the 52 machine. Why think about it though, up on the inside, and Van Soest definitely did try and make the driver ahead think about it. It does not appear that there was anything in it for him. He's flashing his lights again. He did before Paddock Hill, after Paddock Hill. Then again there. Matashiko into the pit lane. It's a little bit early for a stop. 45 minutes into the race. I think they're thinking about trying to game the pit stop with the stint timer. 65 minutes it is. So not quite 4 even stints. They might be trying to put in a partial stint now, so they can do a partial stint later. I wonder if they were even a little bit lighter on fuel for the opening stint. Oh, that's Flynn, who's at an off. Exit turn 3, and that is a large spin. It makes me wonder if maybe there was a little bit of contact in that incident. It seems like a very strange spot to get that far turned around. You certainly have a moment of oversteer in the traction zone if you get on the curb. That was a little bit in excess. Nickerson continues to lead, only a 10.4 second gap though to the car behind that has been absolutely destroying in terms of pace, setting a purple lap so far of a 124.1 against the 124.4 best lap for the car we're on board with right now for CI Motorsports. It does feel like it's only inevitable. Number 245 does catch up to this McLaren. You can see the sun starting to peek over the horizon there through the trees on the left-hand side of your screen now. Looks like Lynham has had a bit of an issue. I think that was on the exit of turn 9. And am I seeing damage? I don't think so. Let's take a look here. Whoa, my cam's way too fast. Goodness gracious. Francesco. Yep, a little bit of damage there on the front of that BMW. So we're going to be suffering a little bit in the 68 machine. Pardon my terrible spectating there. It's a top-end performance that you can ill afford to lose at some other tracks. Not necessarily going to be as impactful here at Brands Hatch. But front-end bite can be a little bit difficult to come by in the outfield later on in the stint. So perhaps there will be an impact felt there. On board again with the 757 Motorsport car, then tumbling down the order for the lion's share of this race so far. 10 seconds of penalties in tow. Still looking to make up some time on the car in front in the BMW. Take a look here down the order, actually. I believe we have seen a first driver change. Actually, I'm looking down the order, though, and I'm not seeing... yes, it was Bennett Lewis now in the car for the BMW number 19. Previously driven by Natashiko, had lots of potential. Demonstrably so, I should mention. Oh, that's big contact. The 126 is completely around there. Contact from behind. And the number 14, I believe, a move made there by Oliver Flynn opened up the opportunity for Vandenberger to try to get through. They might have been just a little bit too aggressive trying to make it happen. Baldo is in the pits for the number 4 Ferrari. That's a lot of time lost there for Raumat. Just gonna have to soldier on. Endurance racing. That's the way it goes. Venso still up behind. Kennedy still flashing the lights. Not entirely certain on the sportsmanship of that, and that's certainly not scoring. 52 makes contact with the car in front, and they do actually hold up. Unfortunately, it's going to open up the opportunity. That's a blue flag actually going through. So that BMW going to have to allow the 52 Lamborghini some space on the inside here. The 44's had another incident. Actually, it's just ahead of this fight. Evan Xavier wisely stays off the line until the fight goes through. Venso's probably not going to be terribly satisfied with that one. Not terribly satisfied with themselves after making a little bit of a touch. Gets the McLaren ahead there at Druids. Not further down the field here. This is for P16. Because now we've seen 3 cars take their leave from the race. Macho B's looking for a move here against Persky in front. I believe neither of these cars has made their pit stop. And speaking of, the 126 machine is in the pits. We saw them get turned around not too long ago. So they might be in to get that tire change, get a little bit of rear damage fixed. Loss of downforce on the rear would definitely be unhelpful for these cars. Blue flag letting these 2 through as they continue their fight. And there is that sun that we were talking about. Harry specifically was mentioning how bright it could be over Paddock Hill Bend. And trying to find your breaking point there is going to be challenging. Van Soest is once again just up behind Kennedy, looking to try to find their way through. There might have been a little bit of fighting going on there just ahead of the battle we were watching only moments ago. Keeping an eye on the 245 in second place right now. Only 6.6 seconds now behind the lead with a purple lap of 124.062. 4/10 faster than the next fastest car on track. This is a good opportunity. Defensive shape thrown there by Kennedy. And they'll hold on to the position presently speaking, but they're going to have to sacrifice their exit now. The CI Motorsports car is doing everything that they can to keep this Lamborghini behind. They're fighting as if it's the end of the race. And it does maybe question the wisdom a little bit, but you have every right to defend your position. As long as they keep it clean, this seems like it's the correct play call for Kennedy. You're forcing the car behind to sacrifice every second that they spend behind you. I'm seeing Flynn and Vandenberger going at it again here in the middle straight. Flynn has the overlap on the inside. I'm keeping an eye on that other battle. It looks like it's going to be Vandenberger who stays ahead. Van Soest out of Paddock Hill yet again. Has to stay behind. Oh, the BMW trying to unlap themselves up the inside of the 52 Lamborghini. And that is, excuse me, who is that actually trying to make that move? That's not Alvarez. I am unsure. Double check here on my relative. That's Lure, who's trying to make that move against Van Soest. Probably not too pleased with that. I certainly would not be. if I was them. Trying on the outside of turn 5. That is bold. It will not work out. Tiny little bit of door banging there. Lure's still trying it as well. On the fresher tires. It's going to give them quite the advantage. They will get through, I think. Vensost recognizing that the BMW with those the fresh rubber, it's going to be just a little bit faster. Kennedy lives to fight another day through this battle. BMWs in the midfield continue to have a little bit of action here. Kuich, one of the few cars in this pack in the midfield that has failed to acquire any time worth of penalties. Which appears to be something of an achievement. It actually gets them through on the inside here. That was Ozduru, who I think might have just gone a little bit deep there in the braking zone for Patakil. Loses that position relatively cut and dry. Not really a whole lot to say about that one, as we're starting to see more and more pit cycles come in too. Some cars dropping down the order. It does make me wonder if we're going to see an attempt at potentially an undercut here from Vensost, who has been really struggling to get past Kennedy, and that's a bit of a cut there for Lure. Metcalf is off again in the 664. The pit strategy could definitely come into effect here if they decide to take an early stop. We're on the outside of the car ahead. That's Kennedy again. Lure is really going after it. He's still blue flagged here and forces Vensost to lift off. If I'm the driver of the 52 here, I am not very satisfied with how this battle has been going. Lure just a little bit wide of the apex there, but we'll find the power to stay ahead. Metcalf does enter the pits, by the way. I think sustaining a little bit of damage. That's a big missed apex there for the 578 in front of all of this. This battle does continue. Vega Haupt is starting to close down the gap to the leader still. 4.2 seconds between Nickerson, the current race leader, and Xavier Vega Haupt, who continues to be on pace to lead this race. Francesco Fina, a bit of a yellow flag here on the outfield. Keeps it out of the barrier. I would say nice and easy, but that would imply that there was anything nice about it, so at least you kept it pointing in the right direction. I've just seen the 664 has left the server. Can't help but wonder if that is another retirement or mechanical issue. The BMW, Bennett Lure, is not having the greatest of luck here, has no right to defend as a blue flag, and so will let the 52 Lamborghini go after that slight mistake. Looked like they were still trying to unlap themselves from Kennedy. Frustrating position to be in when you know that you can potentially take the cars in front. Those blue flags are a bit prohibitive. See some action further back. Vandenberger and Flynn once again having a little bit of a battle. I think Flynn might have been a little bit too heavy on the brakes there, although the switchback might be coming their way through Patakil. On the pit straight. Ooh, contact made. They do keep it under control, and I think that's going to be the end of that fight, presently speaking. 664 only now realized they joined the wrong split. Oh, oh dear. Oh no, that's Kennedy well off. My goodness. Well controlled to save that slide. Vensost finally makes their way through. That is devastating though for the 664. Broke the entry list. So I'm assuming that means that they couldn't put their secondary or tertiary drivers, assuming they had any, they couldn't put them into the car here for split 2 either, I'm assuming. Either way, that's not the finish that I'm sure they would have liked. There's that bright sun. I'm keeping an eye right now on this. 1.8 seconds off the lead now is Xavi Vegahaupt for Vin Motorsport. They didn't see the driver box, so they asked in Discord. So did they break their entry list for both splits then, somehow? Like they couldn't just choose one to drive? Because I think they had their first driver was definitely in this server when they were racing. We saw. Indeed, splits are not based off the sim grid rating. The driver that we're looking at right now has just done a 123.8. Fastest lap of the race, and by some margin too. It seems an awful lot like they are on pace to take the lead here from the car in front. Ryan Nickerson, who has had, to this point, nobody to contest them. They were off to a flying start in the opening stages. The gap now down only to 0.4 of a second, but we are coming up on the pit cycle now for these drivers. 65-minute stint timer. Obviously it started before our race, so it's coming up very, very quickly. The 875, that is a sizable mistake there for Nickerson. The first pressure that they realistically had all race, and they don't seem to have a good way to deal with it. And the 245 will get around the outside. How in the world is it that they found the grip? I do not know, but that's the race lead now for Xavi Vegahaupt. Insane stuff. But there still is another driver on their team. We'll see what happens when the pit cycle rolls around. Consistency is the key for endurance racing, so if they cannot keep up that pace all race, then things might yet swing back in the favor of another team. Gap's starting to splay out a little bit more. Track has evolved to optimum. I'll be the first to admit I haven't really been keeping too close of an eye on it. Usually track evolution isn't too big of a deal in a race like this unless we're expecting some sort of variable weather. Car 14 now into the pit lane. That's Vandenberger. Mallorca is shaping up to try and make some sort of attack here against the Ferrari in front. I can only imagine the Ferrari going to be a little bit tougher on the tires than the BMW, so not really a major surprise to see the number one starting to struggle a little bit more with grip here late in the stint. Oh my goodness, a 123.6 now, the fastest lap here for Vegahaupt. I can only wonder what they would do on fresh tires now that we have had that track tick over. Keeping an eye on this gap as well, line him in front of Kuij. And Macho P's behind Persky. And Macho P's pulling into the pit lane right now. Potentially a bit of an undercut strategy here, and I don't think they practiced their pit entry. Loath as I am to disparage driver on track, it just seemed like they were playing it a little bit safe there before the pit limiter. But hey, I'd rather you play it safe than pull a stop go 30, that's for sure. Number 1 under a lot of pressure here now. Alessandro Majorca looking for this move. They had to delay their power just a little bit. They could not take all that track on the outside without making a little bit of contact. Speaking of playing it safe, seems like they are in that business too. In fact, a little bit of a lift there before the braking zone. I'm seeing actually... What in the world is this? Oh no, Ryan Nickerson has just gotten into an incident with a 758 of Borghi, who... I do not recognize this entry, even. For CI Motorsport, what is... Hold the phone here. This driver, no, I think they have been in the race for the entire duration, but I did not recognize this entry for a second. It shows they're in 24th on my race control, but there are only 20 cars in the race, but that's a huge incident. Nickerson, who I believe sustained some damage from that impact, getting sent into the... All right. Hopefully we're back. Harry? YouTube hopefully reset correctly?
Yep, he's still live.
Splendid. Sorry about that, everybody. PC issues. That's the way it goes. It seems that my game is unseemly quiet on my end. But that is a moot point, because I think it's still all good for the stream. And Harry, I hope they can still hear you. But
yeah, I'm just checking audio.
There we go.
On the screen.
We have seen, since the incident, new driver in the car for Vin Motorsport, taking the lead of the race. We did have that lead change. I think while he was still away. So
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Ryan's now down to P10.
oh geez, oh, that does not look good. What's gone on with that? But now we've got
He had a long pit stop.
we've got the second drivers in the cars now. So I think things are starting to kick off just that little bit more.
Yeah, Ryan was in the pit lane. Time stopped was 1 minute and 18 seconds. So that's why he's now down to P9.
Ryan Nickerson, you mentioned the stop time. I think again just before the crash, we saw a crash here for the A75 car with their sister machine, the 758. I don't know the details of the incident. All I know is that it did go down, which provides just with a pretty sizable gap to the next car back to have inherited from lead driver, who did a phenomenal job in that first stint, climbing up from their qualifying position all the way down, I think in 20th or so, and now into the lead of the race. Is the audio still okay?
Yep, yeah, I checked it, it's all still good.
Fascinating. Just an incident.
I was about to say that the gaps have all spread out slightly since the last time I was here, but Lynham's actually not too far behind. I'm going to butcher this name, but Kuj?
Well, gap to P2 is going to extend a little bit further here, as Brooksiter is taking over for the 52 car from Van Soest and just had a major hit into the barrier in the outfield section. That's going to be a sizable amount of damage. And hey, look, Jack Kennedy's back into P2. Congratulations, my good sir. And it was which name we were looking at just a moment ago? We were trying to get right.
Car 246.
Car 246. Wait, 246. Ah, and there it is.
Any ideas?
I've been going with Kuij so far. Or Kuij. Just you know. Oh dear, that was close. My goodness, what in the world happened there? I think that was blue flag traffic trying to let off, and perhaps not so amazing a spot, but it is the way that it is. At least no contact. That's something we always like to see. There we go. I've got my game audio back. He's got a yellow flag again here. It does seem like we are starting to get into that stage of the race. All of the gaps have splayed out to the point where you're not going to see a whole lot of action. We were talking about the closest one that we have here is Alex Lynham, up behind the 246 car, just ahead. I guess the only surprises so far from me in this race, 8 of them 5 running down the order. That was contact, not necessarily anything that I'm assuming they could do about that. 758 was administered a 5-second penalty. In fact, let me check the stewarding provided at acm-racing.com/stewarding, in case anybody was curious.
Fantastic website. No self-approval there.
It does indeed look like it was administered a 5-second penalty for that contact between car 758 and car 875. It's had a devastating impact on, of course, the race time there, as you mentioned, for Nickerson, running well down the order in a position that I might not expect them to be in, as they actually quite easily overtake Ozduro, excuse me, there at Druids. And I wonder if there was a little bit of synergy on that one. That gap was not necessarily too close for too long. It's gone through without much issue. And it feels like we're starting to get into the attrition game, more or less.
Yeah,
the drivers
1 hour down.
Starting to drive the track more than each other.
Yeah. Obviously, they swapped drivers as now. They've swapped the drivers as well now. So obviously, some drivers are out for the first time this race. Just getting used to the track. We are obviously at optimum now. 11 degrees track and air temp, and like I said, that sun is indeed out now as well.
I must say, it's perhaps not surprising to anybody with experience being outside, unlike me. But it does look quite a bit better with the sun basking over the circuit, if I do say so myself.
Yeah, I'm not sure the drivers will be too thankful though, because on-board turn 1 is it's not nice. It's yeah, it's a flashbang and a half.
I think at this stage in the race, I think the sun is high enough in the sky. It's not too bright over Paddock Hill. But then again, I'm not in the car. So who am I to judge? Harry, if I might be a little bit meta with my commentary now, how is Split 1 faring?
So we've had a couple dropouts due to disconnects on personal sides, which is unfortunate. We've got 15 so far. Still racing. Stewarding wise has been pretty good. We've only got 30 incidents in total compared to the 50 plus 5 from qualifying in Split 2. But obviously less on the grid, less chance for contact, but we're still getting some pretty close and some very entertaining racing that's on the ACM Racing Twitch channel. About P1 currently stands.
There's almost one there for Macho P's against Lewis Trema in front. Now in that 57 machine. Also nice casual plug there, ACM Twitch. But even for a circuit this small, I'm a little bit surprised to see how much the field is spread out. You can see the track map on the right-hand side. And as I mentioned, you know, it's more or less drivers versus the track than driver versus driver for a majority of these cars. But it does seem...
Good thing is at this stage of the race, the track can only get better.
It's true. Looking at Nickerson's times, despite the fact that they've suffered a not insignificant setback, they have run a 123.7, only 500ths off of the fastest time that we've seen so far this race, which was set by the first driver for car number 245, currently in the lead right now. But that car is starting to lose time with their secondary driver in the car. Vega House was very, very quick, must be said, as a driver of the car number 44. It seems like the 44s has had some struggles all around so far this race. Definitely not been their perfect idea of a race. That's big. Oh, that's a big hit. Line him into the back of Kuic. That BMW sent off the circuit. It's going to be seconds of race time lost. Tires certainly not going to be happy about that one. And now another car coming up behind. And don't think they'll just have that position to gain, but it's a bit dirty there for the 68.
Yeah, well, it'll be a penalty, and likely a 5 or a 10 second, depending on whether they've had any other penalties this race. So, you know, it'll get stewarded, and it'll bring those two back to being close together. Hopefully, people think get another chance at it.
Last lap here for the 245 Lamborghini at 125.2. Nickerson ran a 24.6. Kennedy at 24.7. Their fastest lap at 23.9 in that car. In the McLaren 720S GT3 Evo, despite the fact that they have not been running potentially as fast as their sister vehicle for CI Motorsports. They're the car in front. That just so happens to be the nature of the beast, with the other car taking damage from an inter-team incident. Intra-teams. I've always been confused by inter versus intra. I've always been a vocabulary guy, but that one has always eluded me. Is it inter-team or intra-team?
Oh, good.
Let us know in the comments. Oh God, we really have become YouTuber. That is a bold idea there from Bennett Lure, but they're gonna try it. Here gets the 52, and Brooksitter has to let him through. Space was afforded. That was a good send there for the BMW. We've seen, I will say this, for as many moves that we have seen with contact, oh, that's a big, oh no, that's a big mistake. Brooksitter hitting the side two, T-boned after losing control of the car, turn 5. That's going to be a lot of damage on the side pod, probably some of the front two. And that Lamborghini might need to come in. I can't help but wonder if there's going to be some suspension damage on that car.
Well, looking at the way that they're driving, I think there probably is. Maybe if it's just a little bit, yeah, there is. There's definitely some suspension damage on that car, so they're gonna have to go to the pit lane.
We'll do something I don't usually do. Take the wheel cam here. And it actually looks like they don't. They're not.
It's a very small.
They are gonna
right.
pull in though. Yeah. That was a big moment for them. 57. Oh, that is the direct wrong direction to be on the track. They will dutifully hold the brakes. Very nicely done. And rejoin safely.
Feedback on that intra versus inter-team. Inter-team is between two teams and intra-team is within the same team.
There you go. That's what I thought. However, I am not smart. I think you and I both know this to be true. We'll see how much time that cost them in the pit. I'm keeping an eye right now. They've been stuck for 25 seconds now and counting.
Yeah, I think they should be able to get it back though. It's definitely within reach for them. Maybe not back into the top 5, but definitely top 10 area. Obviously it'll offset the pit stops and all that stuff, but they've been having some good pace. So.
Oh dear. I looked away for 1 second. The 758 has been thrown off the track. Patrick Borghi for CI Motorsports. And CI Motorsports, a team who appears to be having some famously bad luck this race. I believe there were a blue flag there against the #1 Ferrari, who is #1 Ferrari that is driven by a driver whose name I really don't want to try to pronounce because I am almost dead certain that I'm going to get it wrong. But I do want to give it a shot anyway. Lock in your guess here. Lock in your guess on how you think this is pronounced. All right, then I'm gonna say it, and then you're gonna let me know if it's what you thought. Okay.
Which driver is this?
The driver of the #1 Ferrari, who's just gone for an epic Tokyo drift at turn 3.
Oh yeah.
Here we go. Villius. I think we can all agree on that one. Baltrisatis.
Yep. A good one. I think you might be correct actually. Yes, I couldn't do better. Baltrisatis, yeah.
I certainly hope so. If anybody happens to know in the chat, do make sure to let me know.
One of the most difficult jobs as a commentator is getting people's names correct. That and not stumbling over your words.
Indeed. Well, that also math. Basic maths. Famous weakness for commentators the world over. Time stopped in the pit for the number 52 car for Brooksiter after that incident with damage. 57 seconds. So the pit delta, 1 minute and 20.
I wonder if he took new tyres in that as well.
This is a solid question. They were fairly new. Leaving the pits around 2 hours 40 minutes. I mean, 20 minutes into the stint. More than likely, let's see, 65-minute stint timer. You're gonna have to stop 3 times at the very least. So 3 stops puts you 185 plus 15 makes 195 minutes into the race. A 4-hour race is 240 minutes. No?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to think about pit strategy here.
I do find it quite ironic how literally 2 minutes ago you were saying we're not good at maths and now we're doing math.
Hey, that's the disclaimer I have to make, right?
At least you prepared the audience, that's the key thing out of this.
Yes. Nobody can tell me that I did not say that I was bad at maths. There's the number 57 is off again, Luis Trema, who does rejoin safely. Brands Hatch is claiming a lot of victims today, though, with unforced errors from these cars. I mean, there's been a reasonable amount of contact in a variety of circumstances, but the track itself has proven to be quite the beast.
Yeah, it's like I was saying, it's certainly not the easiest track, and this is why we took the decision to split it in two. I mean, obviously we've seen quite a lot of contact in this race so far, and that is only just with 20 drivers on the grid. And You can imagine what it would be like with 40 to 45 drivers on grid, you know, we wouldn't get a moment's peace in the stewards box at least.
Oh, we're just... I was about to say, I heard an engine whining down there in the background as I was following Pippa Yost through the main straight, but this is what we were talking about, right? Consistency is the important part of endurance racing. You have two drivers in the car, and sure, one of them might be the fastest on the circuit, but it all depends on your second driver, and Yost has just done a 125.5 on their last lap, which is a notable amount of time slower than some of the other cars in the field. Nickerson currently running in 6th place with a 124.7 on their last lap. Of course, there's also the threat of the CI Motorsport car behind, who's only down 125.2, but is starting to close the gap slowly and surely. One mistake could cost the 245 car quite significantly here. Just past 6 a.m. now. A bit of a fight here. This is actually Gonzalez versus Trema on the inside. For VMS Endurance, is that a custom livery? Because if it is, that is a good-looking car. Must be said. That actually, speaking of good-looking cars, that is not a good-looking car in front. That BMW, with what appears to be a not insignificant amount of rear damage there for the 57. We did see them off earlier, so more than likely some contact with the barrier. I hope for everybody else on the track's sake that it was not contact with another car. That's a good run there for Gonzalez. Slight bit of wheel spin there for the BMW on the outside. Rear damage coming back to bite them immediately, as they are going to have to sacrifice that position. No, indeed, they are not having a good day. I think it's only fair to say.
Props to them for still going though, that's the key thing out of all of this.
Indeed. We've yet to see a drive-through penalty. I only mentioned as I've just seen Oliver Flynn run wide there on the exit turn 3. Bennett Lure is in the pits for car number 19.
Yeah, not common to see at Brands Hatch, but it's certainly not the easiest of tracks to get. There's certainly some easier tracks where they're more common, but Brands Hatch certainly in Sector 2 I think is where a hot spot for track limits is.
But talking specifically about the nature of the race at hand, as Nickerson's actually trying to close up to the car in front of them. It's a 4-hour race, right? Even if it's difficult to get track cuts, for drivers who are constantly exploring the limit and potentially going over a little bit, eventually you might pick up one or two here and there. And that's the concern, really. It's not necessarily, you know, picking them all up right in a row. It's about getting one in the first hour of the race, and then one again, you know, at the end of the second hour of the race. And you do have to, for lack of a better term, you do kind of have to keep it in your pants. To a degree. Speaking of Ryan Nickerson, ooh, up the inside of that BMW, that looked aggressive, but space was afforded. Was alongside a turn in and not a conventional overtaking spot, but the 875 makes their way through. I think Cruz did the right thing to let them on by. Survival is key. You'd rather take a little bit of time loss and allow that car through than end up in the pit lane with loads of damage. For Nickerson now, it's only a 61-second gap to the lead as well. Unfortunately, I do not have stint data since I was unable to keep the stream alive for one reason or another. Hardware failures, ladies and gents. Not only do they happen to GT cars, but to computers as well. That's another backwards moment here for car number 25, Oliver Flynn. The 757 Motorsport BMW finds himself in the grass once more. This seems like an all too familiar scene here, Harry.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, really, it's so common. But like I said, key thing is it's still going. It's a long race, 2.5 hours left to go. So plenty to catch up, plenty to keep going.
And for all of the incidents that we've seen, including losses of control and contact between drivers, you can't say that they haven't been responsible about rejoining safely. So at least we've got that going for us.
Yeah, I mean, rejoining safely is, it's like I've been saying to a couple of drivers the past couple of days, it's one of the key areas where drivers of all skill levels just forget. You know, heat in the moment when you spin, you're like, I just want to get back to racing, and you forget there might be cars approaching and stuff like that. Driver briefing helps remind people, but yeah, rejoins are certainly a difficult area that people seem to get a hang of, no matter what skill.
Naturally, you know, the instinct for any racing driver, I imagine, would be to minimize damage. Speaking of minimizing damage, who do we got now? It's the 758, who's around again. Who's just having a mare of a race, must be said. Looks like the front end is popped up a little bit. We'll allow the 44 on through 68 coming up as well as P3, actually. Car number 68, which is moved forward from their grid. If my memory serves again, my race control no longer shows me accurate race data now that I've had to rejoin the server. But they were battling in a little bit of a mid-pack areas and got another car off. This is exit turn 3, and they're well into the barrier. That seems a strange one. I'm not certain how they've come to how that's come to pass, but my goodness, I know I mentioned that the circuit's tough. You're on the edge. But I'm still taken aback by how often it is that we're finding cars off the circuit.
Yeah, with Rantage, it's very easy to just stick a rear tire in the grass and spin yourself around. Especially some corners as you go into sector 3.
No. they've just done so again.
Yeah, sector 3 especially, when you're on the entrance to the corners, it's so easy to stick a rear tire into the grass, and that's it for you really. There's not much you can do to save the car once you do that. So, you know, there's one side of things where you want to maximise the use of the track, and the other side where you just want to try and keep it consistent. And actually, one of the things is you mentioned how far people have come up with regards to positions gained, and Jost, who's up in P1 at the moment, started, as far as I know, in P20. Which is a last to first challenge success.
We saw Wegenhaus bring that car up all the way to the lead before handing it off to Jost.
Yeah,
again, I'm not sure if that's a hard or a soft J. I believe they hail from good old Deutschland. That was sorry. That probably wasn't. We're probably gonna have my head for that one, but you know.
Yeah, all Jost needs to do now is just keep it consistent, really, and that's an easy P1, so to speak. Not the only one though. Down in P5, Twitch, if I'm saying that correctly, is also started in P21, and they're currently in P5, so that's 16 places gained for them.
I think this is the perfect example of Kuj and Ozduru behind. Both prime examples of the principle of keep it consistent, keep it clean, right? In endurance racing, I think both of them have successfully avoided the majority of incidents. I believe car 246 has at least been involved with some variety of, I guess, punishable moments. I don't recall if they were at fault for anything, but they're up in P5 by virtue of not crashing. And that is what endurance racing is realistically all about, right? We talk about sprints. Obviously, you want to be pushing as much as you can, as often as possible. But you get into a race like this, and it's all about not making mistakes and just keeping the car on track and letting your opponents make the errors. And speaking of, car 68, that's Lynham running up the order. This is one of the cars I was just talking about a little bit ago of being so good about just keeping their car on track and moving up as their opponents made the errors. They've just lost out in 2 positions. Nickerson and Kuj both go through. And hey, I guess that only does serve to reinforce our goal. There goes Kuj. That gap is still not so large, though. And speaking on gaps not so large, one pit cycle could really make or break this race for any of the cars. from 4th to realistically 10th position. Gaps ranging from 3 to 16 seconds in that area. Bynum still does have a 5-second penalty here. That front hood of the BMW, I know they've already fixed that at least one time this race, but it looks like they might need to give it some service again. So it looks like it has seen better days. Attrition is continuing to close the gap here. One of the stories that we're following does make you wonder at this point in time if they had not gotten into that incident with their sister car, if they would be in the contest for the lead right now. 758 is actually just off the road, narrowly ahead of what we're following right now, but looks like they've got back on circuit and in working order. 12 degrees Celsius now for ambient and track temperature, so we're starting to see a little bit more of that evolution. Still nothing serious. The gap here for Nickerson to the leader, 57 and some change. And for Kennedy, only 31.1. So they're slowly making ground. They're not doing it incredibly quickly, so Yost is still doing their job. They've actually just done a 24.9 as their last lap, so they are well doing their job at that. It looks like they are still on course to take this race win if they can just keep it under control. At the risk of invoking the commentator's curse.
Commentator's curse cannot be escaped by anyone. It's inevitable, so to speak.
Ryan is only 1.5 seconds behind Coolidge up the field, on board with Oliver Flynn right now. Once again for 757 Motorsport. He's only about 2 seconds behind the car in front, car number 4. Taking a look here at what I got for driver rosters. Jack Kennedy and Ryan Nickerson both actually going it alone there as P2 and P3 respectively. In the McLaren, the McLaren, excuse me, McLaren 720S GT3 Evo for CI Motorsport. Those both taking it solo, as I mentioned. We still have yet to see the second driver for car 246. Coolidge, I imagine, is just taking it to term for the second stint. They're going to hand off for the remainder of the race to Ansgar Mogo. Oliver Flynn's had another off here. Oh no, the car 25. You can't park there, sir. Here comes the 875. That's Nickerson. Thank goodness no contact is made there. And they will get back in the right direction. But just another moment there. Oliver Flynn, who is also taking this race solo. So really feeling the effects of the endurance race so far. And that actually is for a position with Brookseter, and they do have a little bit of a door bang, but nothing bad comes of that one. Another car's off. That's Patrick Borghi again in the 758 McLaren ahead, kicking up some dust, but still keeping the car on track. Still watching Alex Lynham here, who did I believe, a best lap for the stint on their, not the previous tour of the circuit, but the one before. And they are only just barely losing the tail of Coolidge ahead, but it seems like this lap has actually been quite a bit better for them. The gap coming down by half a second, and only a handful of corners here for the number 68 machine. Still dragging what's going on at the front as well. Jack Kennedy, last lap of 124.8 versus the leaders 125.4. Starting to come down ever so slightly. But if indeed it is that Vega Haupt puts in another stint like their first later on in this race, I can't help but feel like it's going to be an open and shut case for that Lamborghini to take the win. This is a fight for position for the 758 McLaren of Patrick Borghi for CI Motorsports into Paddock Hill Bend. And he's taking off the circuit. Commentator's curse, I suppose that one is. Gianmarco Fino is taking control of the 992 Porsche, the only one in the field from teammate Francesco Fina. Can only assume some sibling drivers there, perhaps. A child and parent combo, which I would also be excited for. I've actually seen a couple of those in my time spectating races in sim motorsport. It's always a lovely sight to see family members bonding with sim racing, must be said. Number 44 Ferrari's around. In the outfield section yet again, Brands Hatch taking no victims today, and thankfully getting off the racing line here just as the number 245 is coming through, who has had no major incidents with blue flags or yellow flags, I believe, so far this race. Yes, you look away for 5 minutes, that's what you come back to. In fairness, Mark, there have been a sizable number of cars going around, just in general, so far this race. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next time you look away and come back, there'll be somebody off the circuit again. Sun continues to rise into the sky here, 6:18 a.m. on track right now. The temperature, I think we're going to expect to keep coming up a little bit, but it has not moved a whole lot, so it's still going to be mostly 1-to-1 for the drivers, although the Austins lost a little bit of time, 126.2 on the last lap. Still just doing their job. All the messages above yours. I see. That does track a little bit more. Most of the gap still panning out here. Oliver Flynn within 1 second of Brookstetter. They had a little bit of a clash earlier on. Didn't amount to a whole lot. It looks like they are just going to have a little bit of a wide moment there at Paddock Hill. Very easy mistake to make, and we've seen that plenty of times for a variety of drivers, even some in the podium positions, including one Jack Kennedy. Yos continues to hold them at bay, 124.79 for their last lap. It's a moment for the number 19. Oh, that's a big moment there. They've been into the barrier at the very least, and there's some front damage for car number 19. One that we have not necessarily been following too much this race. They haven't seen a whole load of action, and it feels like we can say that for a lot of the vehicles in the midfield, really. The number 4 Ferrari, the number 19 BMW, and the number 126 McLaren. We've seen some screen time for the 151 machine at the very least. But it seems like it's been a very quiet tale for some of the cars in the midfield that we saw a lot of action on, specifically early on in the race. So they are going to continue to circulate, though. So clearly no major issues, although the 758 has had another off here. They will wait to rejoin until traffic has passed. Again, exactly what you love to see, as one of my good friends would put it.
drop another degree in track temperature as well. I'm not sure that'll be having much of an effect on the cars, but still something to know.
There's very little changing about the track condition. Just something I was limitedly hoping for in terms of providing a little bit of variability to this race. I was just addressing it only a moment ago, actually, is the track temperature has barely even moved, despite the fact that the sun has been high in the sky now for some time. And we're not noticing any major changes in the weather pattern. Some rain would certainly be welcome, I think, for a couple of drivers who are looking to try to equalize this event. But I don't see any on the horizon, and I have no reason to believe there's any on the way.
Yeah, just a clear race today. We had a variable race at Spa last time out, which I'm sure you're aware was definitely variable.
Yes, it was variable with the 15-minute on again, off again showers. Made for some interesting moments. Another yellow flag for car 758. Off in the same section of track. We're having some specific troubles there with turn 7. And they will actually, that's car number 44. They're losing out in position. I think those tires are cooked, my good friend. You're going to have to take that one into the box. So they just make a slight tap with the barrier here. And nope, they're crossing the line. They're getting back out on circuit. I think at some point you just gotta kind of admit defeat with the tires. They've had more than a couple of moments beyond the white lines into the grass, and as we said at the beginning of the show, Brands Hatch, a very punishing circuit, no runoff to speak of. You can get a little bit wide, maybe onto some of the rumble strips, but past that, you are really just more on the lawn. They're sticking with it. Car 44 is now met with a bit of a moment. There's a bit of styrofoam out there on the alternate layout of the circuit. And I was very confused there for a second where exactly it was they were on the track until I looked at the track map. The car 758 had another spin too, I think, or at least an adventure off in the weeds. Yeah, it was a sick drift until it wasn't. I must agree, but unfortunately we don't deal in sick drifts here. For the most part. We did see one at turn 3 earlier on in the race, but they're few and far between. Expectations series will come up on the 2-hour mark here. Near about halfway into the race. Not many. Ooh, here's the 578 with a yellow flag. Oh no, that's a big yellow flag for the 578. We were looking for some action, but this is not what I wanted at all. The P2 car with a big moment there. And I just have to wonder if that's damage. 758 is off again in the background too. I think it's in turn 6, but how does this shake things up for car 578? I think they're going to stay out here with very little damage.
Yeah, it was only a bit of a spin for them. It's allowed the teammate to catch up a little bit. There's still about a 10-13 second gap between those two. Yeah, Anthony Ryan being back up in P3 compared to what their pit stop from last time. But yeah, Jack Kennedy obviously putting himself further back from the top. I think it's Jost is going to be happy about that at least.
Jost keeping it consistent, keeping it clean. 758's off again here. I think they had Spinalla, and I think they're really, really struggling out there now. I think they might have more damage than what we saw with them last time. And they are going to pull into the pit lane here, I think, for a needed tire change. Actually, they're stopping before the pit entry. Car 758, I think, might be on the verge of retiring here. But I sure hope nobody's coming into the pit lane behind them. And finally, they get underway again. I wonder, do they stall the car, maybe? With a little bit of contact on the barrier right before the pit limiter. And oh boy, that was a bit of a saga there, just entering the pit lane.
Definitely not easy to pit lane here at Brands Hatch. It's you've got to practice it at least once to not mess it up really, because it's a sharp right-hander, then a sharp left-hander, and then you got the 50 km/h speed limit, so you got to be really careful on entrance.
I'm wondering too. I did notice the Bit of a wide moment there for the 52 car. Brooksitter is at risk here from Oliver Flynn. I noticed the barriers actually segmenting the pit lane. There is the option to go straight on, but the specific layout that we have forbids it. It's entirely prohibited. And I have to wonder why. Why exactly is it that they made it that way? I wonder if it's just to make sure that the cars get slowed down before the pit entry, but I mean, nobody wants a speeding in the pit lane penalty, so surely that's got to be motivation in its own right. Any ideas?
Oh well.
Those are the things we might never realize. I do wonder if AC Evo will have something akin to that, of course, with various track layouts available. I wonder if there will be alternative pit entry options.
One thing about Brands Hatch as well, Indy Circuit would be pretty fun.
I've never actually raced that layout.
Well, it's short. That's one of the key things about it. It's something like a 30-second lap time.
Yeah, the bearings of the pits, indeed. Mark, we're discussing a bit of an off there for car number 57 running further down the order. So, of little consequence to the majority of the drivers in the race. Courage and Lynham, though, 246 and the number 68 cars in 4th and 5th respectively, still kind of eyeing up a potential podium in this race if they can hold it together. Lynham still is carrying that 5-second penalty, but depending on how pit strategy plays out for them, they could easily jump up in the standings. So this is still a pretty open book in terms of the podium positions. Saving for that top spot, which Pepe Yost has been protecting after a stellar drive from their first driver in the first stint. It's been a very textbook race for the Lamborghini out in front right now. Well, I guess I say that despite the fact that they started from P20 on the grid. Very obviously had the pace to take a top spot, but they did not.
I suppose you could say it's a textbook race for a last to first challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they've done here. It's and they've done it very well as well. I don't think they've got themselves in too many contacts, maybe slight door banging here and there, but yeah, up 19 places since the start. Now got a full, almost a lap lead on P2. It's mental.
Barry's probably to make it physically impossible for somebody to oversteer from the last corner and somehow get into the pits. Much to consider. Not being a race director in real life, I would not know. Shocking, I know. It's not something I do for living. Car number 4 into the pit lane. I just saw it was the number 126 machine pulled into their box to serve a pit stop. Blue flag here, that's car 758, who is getting into a little bit of a tangle there with some lapping traffic, but they got away with it without an issue. Car number 151 has had an off here. So one of the BMWs that we were talking about hasn't had a whole lot of action in the midfield, but the McLaren of Raumatz might actually be interested to see that, as that could potentially be for provisional position. I believe we are kind of coming up to pit cycle time right about now. It depends on when you took your first stop, though, of course, with a 65-minute stint timer. Presumably most of the teams near the front trying to take that all the way to the very last lap. So we're still going to be waiting for some time for the leaders to start making their stops, surely. Oh, that's a drive-through. Car number 4 received a drive-through penalty, I think, for speeding in the pit lane there. And we did discuss this briefly, expecting to see at least 1 or 2 drive-throughs in the race. Not necessarily, though, for speeding in the pit lane. I was kind of expecting some track limits. And again, if you get a little bit too eager on your pit entry or too eager with the pit limiter on the exit, it'd be quite easy to make that mistake. I'm going to take a brief moment to get up and stretch here. If you don't mind, Harry.
No, all good.
Okay, go ahead and leave the cam on Brooksiter here. As they got Flynn for company. I'll be right back.
I was going to say, Flint's having a fairly decent race so far. Started in P10, which is where Brooksiter currently remains. Yeah, only 1 second or so back from Brooksiter. I think they're trying to catch up. But obviously, Brooksiter has the pace for sort of top 5-ish. But yeah, Flynn racing alone, I believe, for the 757 Motorsports BMW. One of actually, there's quite a few solo drivers out on the grid today, which is not surprising for 4 hours. Obviously, Brands Hatch have become quite boring after 4 hours straight of racing. But, the Sunrise to contend to, and plenty of battles going on. Flynn certainly got plenty of company. Another interesting was Duru has had a big contact with car 758 potentially. I think these two. Just had some contact. I think 758 is down at the back, so yeah, that's a contact, maybe a rejoin from 758, but that's put Osduru in a bad position with regards to his position, and has just been spun again by another blue flag, so he's having a terrible lap. Maybe part of the commentator's curse there. That was Gonzalez spinning Osduru as well, and now Baltrusis coming past as well. It's going to be another position lost for Osduru, and BM is now approaching Osduru as well. Terrible lap there for Osduru, which I was just about to mention as one of the other Lola drivers in this race, which has the fastest speed through the speed trap, which is 249 kilometers an hour. But yeah, that last lap there for Osduru was unfortunately it was 158.2, so he lost out on a solid 30 seconds worth from that contact with the blue flag, and obviously that blue flag will get a penalty. But yeah, Osduru had some unfortunate contact with the blue flag and lost 30 seconds and a couple of positions. That's what I was covering.
Sorry, did I step away and miss like a major incident?
Yeah, Osduru had a major contact with a blue flag, and then had troubles rejoining and got spun again, and yeah, it was chaos.
You're kidding.
It was literally as soon as I switched to him as well on my cam. I was meant to talk about the speed trap and his fastest time through there, but ended up getting caught up with his incident.
Well. If it isn't the commentator's curse. Good grab. Let's see. We definitely are in the doldrums of the race. I don't think there's any denying that. Looking at my gaps, and this really is one of the closest battles that we have on track right now, although I'm supposing now, checking it out, Osduru is just up behind Baltrusatis. If that is indeed... Oh, gee, whoa! My goodness, I looked back at my race for just 1 second, and that Ferrari looked an awful lot closer than I think Emra was expecting them to. I don't know, Harry, did you catch that one as it was happening? Was there some blue flag shenanigans going on there?
I can go back and check, but out the corner of my eye, I think it was just, yeah, blue flag. Just caught up in the mix there. I think R57, yeah, down in P17, potentially just getting a bit caught up in there. Yeah, not being a good few laps for us, Drew. He's really in the trenches at the moment, so to speak.
I feel like this is one of the real moments where, you know, just before halfway, you start to realize just how long this race really lasts. Although, speaking from a driver perspective, you know it's nice to have that break time if you're doing a break stint, or if you're finally finished with those 2 hours. Sometimes it can really feel like it breezed by. I know for me specifically in the commentary booth, 2 hours really went by fast. I don't know about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been sort of drifting between commentary and stewarding, and yeah, it's been pretty hectic this first 2 hours. It's passed quite fast, but last 2 hours, obviously now got the sun up. Track will start to heat up a little bit more. I think it'll probably max out about 15 degrees maybe, so you might be seeing some faster lap times and maybe some drivers improving. But yeah, 82 laps we've done so far. In just under 2 hours.
The move. Duru doesn't quite find the space here. But patience is key. Plenty of time in the race. And certainly if you have the pace advantage over the car in front, eventually you will find the gap. You definitely don't want to get into an incident and lose race time to a penalty. Here comes some blue flag traffic. McLaren in front of the #1 Ferrari, and Duru is thinking about it up on the inside here of turn number 6. It's a difficult spot to go for an overtake at the best of times, and they do think better of it. Maybe going to try to make use of this blue flag. It's getting a little bit complicated though. And you can see the #1 Ferrari does not want to give up the position. There goes the blue flag off circuit, but there's an opportunity on the inside here for Emra, and they're going to take it. Nice move there, but still has to afford space with the traction zone being ceded to the #1 car on the inside line here for turn 9, and they won't have the inside at the apex. The 343 gets past. Nice little bit of battling there, even with a car in the mix they perhaps weren't expecting.
Going to be a big distance for Duru to cover back up now, though. It's 55 seconds to line him in front.
We are halfway.
Could be close behind though. BM's only 5 seconds back from Valtris 80th now.
Halfway. We're done.
Yep, there's the call out for it. On the countdown to the end now, rather than the countdown to the start.
Something about woods and walking halfway. I don't know.
It's like on 24 Hours of Le Mans or 24 Hours of Spa when the commentators are midway through in the night time. Random references and all that.
I mean, to be fair, if you were in their position, I would. If I was in their position, I would definitely be saying it's like, hey, halfway at long last.
On one hand, it signifies that you just got to do what you've already done, but then on the other hand, you've got to do what you've already done. So it's like both sides there.
I'm sure we can all relate to, getting halfway through your shift at work and then realizing, goodness gracious, I've got to do that again.
Yep. We've all been there. All the week, for that matter. It's Wednesday.
Oh man, don't even talk about it. I had a pretty long week at work this last go around. So I kind of feeling that one a little bit close to home. Keeping an eye here on Nickerson, who I think is making up a little bit of ground on Kennedy. Overtime here, 53 seconds away from the net race lead. And Yost has been doing the job. Really, the support driver that I think we all wish that we had, the number 19. Oh dear, that looks like it might have been an at-fault incident. May have been spun around on the wrong side of turn 3. Then again, it could have been power oversteer, but I think there's some damage on the front of that car. Did we see that damage though manifest before now? Yost is now in the pit lane, by the way. So we're finally at that pit crossover. But I do wonder if that's damage for the number 19 car that just resulted in potentially an at-fault incident. I don't think it was though. I think that might have just been one of those moments of oversteer, riding up a little bit too much on the curbs there, and especially on worn tires if we are indeed coming to that pit cycle. It can definitely cause a little bit of instability at the rear. Curious if so Nickerson has actually gained a lot of time here on Kennedy this lap. Wonder if there's some interference externally. I wonder if he's going to come into the pit lane. No, it does not look like it. So the 875 and the 578 both stay out while Yost is in the pit receiving service, which boosts Kennedy to the net race lead. Well, I guess not the net race lead, but the current race lead. Congratulations. Now Vega Haupt is in the car, and you are more than likely going to get torn up if his pace on his previous stint is anything to go by. He's just behind the cars that pass. So if you want a visual indication of what their pits look like, is he's already throwing on the flashers to try and get this blue flag out of the way. Ooh, and maybe a little bit more than that to get the blue flag out of the way too. Lynham is in the pits, by the way.
something interesting to talk about. Car number 151. I think they're a controller player.
Really?
Yeah, I've been looking at the steering inputs. It's either a keyboard and mouse or a controller.
Hang on. Car 151, you said?
Yeah.
Actually, hang on. I want to see how Vega Haupt navigates this blue flag. 758 on the inside here of Lamborghini. 758 who's been a little bit out of control and stays on the inside line there. Vega Haupt does get past. All right, nice and clean. Very good. That's what I was really hoping to see. Let's take a look. Again, not the usual. Okay, I take. Okay, that doesn't look like. Oh, that doesn't look like controller. I don't think it's keyboard and mouse though, because they have the gradual, like the analog inputs, right?
Yeah.
So it looks like. Oh my goodness, though. Yeah, because they've got the bearing kind of inputs, right? Not the full left and full right lock all the time, but they do have the full one. So perhaps you're right.
Funnily enough, though, one of the best battles that I've ever had was at Hungaroring, and that was with a driver who was using mouse and keyboard. It was one of the cleanest and most fun battles that I've had. So it just goes to show, whatever you got, you don't need particularly a wheel. You can get involved.
Oh, surely. You recall my teammate for the 6-hour Nordschleife events for Williams Gaming Club. Both of my two teammates actually were controller drivers. Shoutouts to Justin McKechnie and Selena Boonstra. Really phenomenally fun drivers to drive with, both on controller. Both quite quick as well.
On top of that though, if you are looking to get into some racing, you want to get into racing with ACM, we run a minimum of an event a day at the moment, so plenty going on, and that's not just ACT as well. We've got Le Mans Ultimate, iRacing, Automobilista, WRC as well. So if you're looking to get involved, come join us at ACM. The link to our Discord is going to be into the chat in a second. And if you don't have any of those games, then check out YUPLAY, who is the title sponsor of this race, who offer up to 80 or 90% off on some of the greatest games out there, some of the greatest deals. From indie games or from big developers. We've worked with YUPLAY for over a year now, and have sold way over 50 or so games on behalf of them. So if you're looking to get into ACC for the cheap, you can get the DLCs and the game itself for just the regular retail price of the game. So a good deal on there. Both links to the Discord and YUPLAY will be posted to the chat soon.
Just taking some wide shots at the circuit here, as we're kind of in the midway point here. It's wonderful. You get these overhead shots. You don't really realize how good they look, and surely it does look better in real life. You can see a little bit of artifacting there in the back, and that is car kind of facing the wrong direction. But I love getting these cinematic shots in the middle of the race. It's not necessarily the greatest of times, so we'll return to the action here. So Nickerson is starting to close up to the race leader right now of Jack Kennedy. More cars are in the pits. Giancarlo Fina and Dakar both in their box at the moment getting serviced, and as I say that, the BMW is released, and number 1 Ferrari is just on their way in. And speaking of, there's Jack Kennedy too, car number 151, simultaneously in the pits. So Ryan Nickerson takes that race lead and immediately misses the breaking point, I think, at Paddock Hill, and here comes Vega Haupt for Druids, and already on the flashers with the Lamborghini, and I think both of these drivers know who is going to end up with this position, but that doesn't mean you're not allowed to fight it. And there it goes. Up the inside. Turn 4. Long uphill left-hander, and the Lamborghini is back in the lead. Worth noting as well, their previous lap, fastest of the race, 1:23.29. I won't necessarily say lightning quick, but pretty fast. I think that at least matches my best qualifying pace. So surely doing a number on the remainder of the field. Here comes Kennedy crossing the pit exit, in a moment's time, and I don't think they're going to have any competition on the pit exit, so they'll return to normal racing speed with no particular issues. It promotes car number 246 into the podium positions, but yet to take their pit stop in the second cycle, same as car number 875, who continues out for another lap. I'm questioning what exactly the differences are in the pit strategy specifically. We mentioned the stint timer a little bit earlier on, 65 minutes, pretty standard practice rounds here at ACM. But Ryan Nickerson is still out, whereas both of their direct competitors have already come into the box. Oh dear. Big spinal there for the 126. Unsure how that one went down exactly, just on the exit of turn 8. More likely than not, a couple of cars in the pits. 25 and a 343. The 758's got another yellow flag. You know, I think we all know vaguely what the story is. Oh, that one by now. Yellow flag for car number 52. Slide off at turn 5 by the look of it. Nothing too surprising about that, and Ryan Nickerson is into the box this time, and very nicely getting that slowed down for the pit limiter. We'll see where this puts them out in relation to car number 578 of Jack Kennedy. For the sister CI Motorsports car, they were pretty close in terms of delta prior to the pit stop for car number 578. They haven't had a stellar couple of laps though. A 129.4 on their last go around, and I don't believe that was their out lap. So it could have been a critical couple of seconds lost there. Let me check the pit delta, by the way. So the stats show a 1 minute and 20-second stop for Kennedy on their pit. And with 57 seconds actually total for the stop, so I believe they might have repaired some damage, and that might explain why they seem to be a lot farther back than I would have expected. I think the nominal pit delta here, with a roughly 30 or so second stop, is about 52 to 54 total time spent in the pit lane. So if Nickerson really nailed their marks, they should be out fairly quickly, and indeed they are. 1 minute and 3 in the pit lane with a 41-second stop there, and they will take P2, even from Mogul, who is yet to pull into the pit lane. The 246 BMW behind them. So that's a wonderful move up the field there for Nickerson, but with a 68-second gap to the fastest driver on the circuit right now, seems like this is going to be the position to try to fight and keep, rather than fight and move up. Still looking for a couple of gaps here. It seems like most of them have quite panned out at this point in time. Oh no, not well. Is following him. Oh, that's big front damage. And oh, watch the rejoin car coming through. And oh my goodness, 578. Jack Kennedy had to think fast there to avoid that. My goodness.
That's exactly what I was saying earlier. No matter what the skill level rejoins, it's always a hot spot for drivers. You know, you can, in the heat of the moment, you just like, I want to get back to racing. You don't think too much. Yeah, you end up in situations like that. But thankfully, Jack Kennedy had fast enough reactions to avoid that one.
Wondering if Kennedy and Nickerson are in voice communication with each other at this point in time, talking about the potential race for them as teammates, but not teammates.
Yeah, I think if so, I think Ryan's probably deaf by now from the screaming that just came out of Jack.
Oh dear. I fear you may be right. With the 57 yellow flag. Oh my goodness, that BMW was beat up They're facing the wrong direction at that.
Yeah, they're reversed in the wrong direction, but thankfully choosing a good place to rejoin.
Certainly seems like it's seen better days. If I'm that driver, I am definitely getting into the pit lane now. I don't want to... Yeah, that... He's going around for another lap. I think that might partially be because they missed the pit entry line. But that car cannot be in good shape. I'm going to go ahead and take their main cam here. And yeah, it looks like that's a little bit harder to control than I think they would like. They'll have to take it around at least this one more time. If they can make anything happen. Mogul's actually caught up to the back here of Nickerson, which surprised me. No, Mogul is actually only 7.5 minutes into their stint. My goodness, I thought they had yet to pit on this cycle. But this is for position. And Mogul is right up behind Nickerson. This came completely out of left field for me. I'm quite surprised here in the Vin Motorsport car. We'll see this one battle, and then I think it's near about time for me to take my lead, but there is that damaged BMW getting a little bit in the way of this potential fight, and they're gonna take the lack of an exit road to get out of this fight, and Nickerson has to concede this position on the inside. No, they're going to try to fight it here into the outfield. They get bumped off the circuit and into the gravel trap, and that one might be worth reviewing there, my good friend. I don't think that that was necessarily the cleanest of moves there for Ansgar and Mogul. I think they might actually be conceding the position here in order to remedy. I think they did. I think that is the sporting move there for the 246, is to give the position back after an ill-gotten gain. That's what you love to see. Truly.
That is one of the only things you do, Stuart, based off in ACM. We don't steward based off the time loss, we don't steward based off the damage. Yet we do steward based on whether you gained a position or not. The principle behind that is being, if you accept that you've done wrong and you return that position kindly, there's no need for us to punish you, because in our mind you've been educated, you already know that what you did is wrong and you're saying sorry and you've done it. You still might get a 5-second penalty for it, yeah, but you know, there's no need to additionally punish you just because of that contact. If you already know it's wrong, then you know, what's the point in punishing that further? Whereas if you know, purposefully, or you spin someone out an accident but then just don't care about the fact that they've spun out and you gain the position, that's slightly different. That's sort of where the basis of that stands. So far it's done really well for us. I mean, to answer your question, I guess, yeah, my thoughts on giving the position back after a contact is yeah, it's preferable.
Indeed, now that's not quite sorted. Mogul might have handed back the position. That doesn't mean we're not racing, though. Quite close up to the 875 there through turn 9. Now the sun well high in the sky. We've actually ticked up 1 degree, more in good old centigrade. But, oh dear, that's well deep, the 875. There goes Nickerson, and they're going to try to fight this one. Big mistake, though, for the McLaren. I was going to try to find a way to capitalize on this, but there's just no exit there. They can't seem to find that punishment that they're looking for. I mean, it's very clear that Nickerson is driving in the mirrors at this point in time. I mean, especially after you get shoved off the circuit when you were trying to defend your position. It's a stressful situation to be in for sure. And it seems like it's only a matter of time before this position is conceded. But he's not letting it go, and I can't blame him. This is, you're starting to get down into, we're about at the 100-minute mark for this race, and you're starting to move out of endurance territory at that point, in my opinion.
Yeah, when you sort of start getting down to the hour-and-a-half mark, that is, you know, it's basically a sprint territory then, and drivers do become a lot more risky, and you know, further than that, when you come past. Oh, wow. that was a spin and a half there.
What did happen? Okay, I'm gonna take the risk. I'm gonna go back 15 seconds on ACC race control, and what in the I have no idea what just happened there.
It's like he tried to drift flick the car into the corner.
I genuinely have no clue what's going on with that. But that's the end of that fight, I suppose. We do have this one starting to heat up a little bit. This is Francesco Fina behind Icarus Dakar, which I do not want to make the obvious pun about Icarus Dakar driving. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm just gonna. We're just not gonna talk about it anymore. All right, let's just leave it be. But I think Francesco, the faster of the two drivers for the 985 Porsche, despite the fact that they're relatively similar in pace, the two drivers in that car, might have the advantage here over the number 19 in front. Yeah, he didn't even spin, Mark, but I can see what Harry was getting. That was a unique scenario, not in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, from what I saw on my screen, it was the BMW was on the right hand side of the monitor, and then within a split second, he was on the left. So I didn't really get. And I'm running triples as well, so that was all the way from the right hand side to the left.
Never experienced that. I've got my my ultra wide. I've chosen to throw the actual broadcast onto one of my normal, if you will, 27-inch 2K monitors to provide a better viewing experience, so you don't have to squint your eyes to see the center of the screen. Yeah. We're just about at that point. I am preparing here to hand off the stream to Harry, I believe, and take my leave on the hour here, though. So even though this battle is starting to heat up a little bit, it's time for me to go. I work nights here in the States, and it's very, very early in the morning, so I'm going to go ahead and shut it down, and Harry will hopefully have that feed back up for you very, very quickly. I want to thank you for having me, Harry, and for everybody allowing me to be on the stream. And most, I hope you all enjoyed, but I'm going to go ahead and stop it here and now.
Testing, 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Hello. I believe we are back now for 1.5 or 1 hour 40 minutes remaining of 4 hours of Brands Hatch. Not much has changed in the 5 seconds that you missed us, but Osduru is now still 0.7 seconds back from where I'm at. Obviously, we've had recently another change in the pit stops. There we go. So yeah, 0.3 seconds now Osduru has as a gap. We'll go on board with him as he goes down into the final straight of Brands Hatch. Obviously, start-finish straight is not really a straight. It's more of a gradient angle. I'm not sure around the outside on the final corner will work too well, though. Might be able to get a switch back if he didn't have a bit of wiggle on the exit. He's going to look to the outside of turn 1. That could work for him, supposing that the McLaren leaves enough room on the outside. It's going to be later on the brakes for the McLaren. That's going to send them slightly wider, managing to keep it out of the grass well enough. So the BMW now goes up the inside of Druids and managed to get that position, but there's a Lamborghini in the background decides that they're going to try and I believe that might have been a lapping situation. Yeah, they believe they try and lap the car there, but they went up the inside and caused the contact. So that was an easy place gain for Osduru there, and actually getting 2 seconds out of the contact that that blue flag car had. Just check for me that the audio etc. is okay. I appreciate it. Looks like we are all good. About to go on to our 100th lap of the race. Like I said, 2.5 hours have passed so far. Javi Rajhaupt is currently in P1. Last lap was a 124th lap. Best lap is a 123.2. That's a crazy fast lap. Might even see towards the end of this race a 122 lap time, which is well exceeding my original prediction of the standings. But we are now about to cross the line for the 100th completed lap of the race. And there it is as Javi goes across the line. The 127.9, obviously that contact up at Druids last time did slow down his lap, but he's got a 1 minute and 15 second gap ahead of Ryan and the number 875 McLaren, and behind that as well Mogul in the 246 BMWs, about 10 seconds between these guys. Kennedy just behind that, 9 seconds back in the 578 CI Motorsports McLaren. Currently a 5-second penalty for Mogul, so once that penalty is served, then Kennedy will be only 4 seconds back from Mogul, which is interesting point of note there. We've got blue flag, yellow flag for Mauler in E18. That's number 44 Ferrari. Looks like they've rejoined safely. It's the first time that we've seen Fazli Mauler out on track. Their same car as Lingtang Nahaya and Evan Javier. The highest stand-in solo driver is Ryan for CI Motorsports. Obviously Ryan started in P1, currently in P2. So has dropped down 1 position from the start, and obviously, as I said just a moment ago, 1 minute and 50 seconds back from the top spot. So has quite a long way to go, but to be honest has quite a decent gap behind him. Just 11 seconds for Mogul. Mogul as well, 18 places up since the start of this race. Started in P21, currently P3, only 10 seconds back from P2. Obviously Ryan going to have a lot to tend with this one. Should there be a battle. Mallorca, Alessandro Mallorca, not named after the country, hopefully. Island, should I say? A lot of damage on that pink BMW, but only a second back from Ramat at the moment. Obviously, saw Ramat having a flag earlier. Mallorca just going slightly wide on the first corner there. Now that we are on my stream, you can see all the beautiful liveries that we've got on the grid today. This is one of the ones that I was on about earlier with the colour scheming of it. This is a nice sort of, it reminds me of the Gulf livery, slightly, with the orange and turquoise gradient that's on the car. Very nice livery on that Porsche. Big fan. Let's see what else we've got on the grid. Just a, well, that's a very topical livery on that one. Macho P's has got P-coloured Ferrari and even got P-coloured tyres as well, so went full on with the green on that one. Alvarez, BMS Endurance Team, and number 100 BMW, very nice livery on this one as well. I'm not sure if it's an in-game livery, custom one. It's a custom one, then a very nice livery, but I think it's that BMW M. I think that's an in-game livery. Maybe not actually. It says Virtual Motorsport on the side, so it could be. Not sure. Either way, it's a fantastic livery. Persky just got a carbon livery, unfortunately, so nothing for them. Already been on board with Fazli Mauler. Just a stock livery for them as well. Dayton D'Souza for CI Motorsports as well. 758 car. Currently 44 laps behind everyone else, but is still going in this race, which is great to see. Those lines on the front of the car certainly do make it look like a rather different car. This one is one that I've been keeping my eye on all race as well. A simplistic but fantastic looking livery from the Vin Motorsports, a Lamborghini. I know that the Lamborghini is a particularly difficult car to get a livery made for. The wireframe is certainly not the nicest of things to look at, but they've done spectacularly well here with the line work and the colour scheme. Ryan Nickerson. TI Motorsports as well. There's a couple of cars on grid that are of a similar thought to this. Another Vin Motorsport here. Obviously not a Lamborghini this time, but still same colour scheme. Mallorca's now only 0.2 seconds back and has gone up the inside on Druids, but was ran slightly wide there, so has made contact going past Ramat. That might be a minor contact position gained for the number 5-1 BMW there, so that position has been gained. Will unfortunately be slightly hindered by a 5-second penalty, more than likely. Also depends whether he can gain 5 seconds, but Oliver Flynn is also looking to make something out of that. And speaking on liveries, the 757 Motorsport BMW's got fantastic livery on this thing. The BMW's see Oliver Flynn running solo in this race is now already looking to get up a few places. Lovely sponsors on this one, with obviously one of them being the British Heart Foundation. You find it slightly funny how you got the British Heart Foundation and Coca-Cola on the same car, but I suppose it works. Nice little How's My Driving on the back as well. There's been a spin for Raymond van Soest, unfortunately, in the Biocircle Iron Lynx Lamborghini, and it looks like they're going to rejoin nice and safely though. It looks like there's been a fairly big pile up towards the start-finish straight here. We've got a car of 758 going incredibly slowly towards the start-finish straight now as well, with Macho P's looking like they've been involved in that, but they make their way back past, and hopefully no further contact comes from that. Devon got past the slow 758 as well. Not sure here if 758 has had damage problems or why they go slow. They've got the hazards on, so there must be some damage problems on that car. I can't see much of any signs of heavy contacts, but clearly something wrong there. It looks like the diffuser's actually hanging off of that car, so maybe I've eaten my own words with that camera angle, but hopefully they get it all sorted. Ramat, Malaysian driver. 0.6 seconds back from Mallorca, as we saw Mallorca overtaking previously. Flynn just 2 seconds behind now. Certainly a quiet point of the race. Closest battle on track at the moment. I suppose you could call it a battle, but it is between Flynn, Ramat and Mallorca. Obviously with an hour and 26 left, hopefully within the next half an hour or so things should begin to spice up. Track temperatures have stayed sort of around 13 degrees, not really increased much in the past, but I think we've still got potentially another 2 degrees in there. Obviously it's only 7 AM in game, even though it looks like it's midday. Ramat running slightly wide there. Now Flynn to catch up a little bit. No moves going to be made on this lap though. I'd say that it's been another wide corner for Ramat, so it's going to be a slipstream for Oliver Flynn down into turn 1. A little bit of bump drafting on the rear. Again, wide for Ramat. I think they're having front end problems with damage, so it's going to be a dive up the inside for Oliver Flynn there. See, in a line advantage, not going to be able to make the most of it on this time as the McLaren on the outside gets a better exit and has kept his position for another sector. It'll be who can get the better exit on this time. Again, the McLaren going wide. I think that's to do with damage. Oliver Flynn back in the slipstream is going to look into the inside of this corner now. It might even be a position gain before the corner exists. It looks like it will be just as they reach the braking point. He's in front and the position has been gained as a result of that. Oliver Flynn finds himself now up into P8 as they head into sector 3. David Boulder managed to catch up to I Crashed the Car. I believe that is actually the name. I think I was told that it was the name. Yeah, I Crashed the Car for Team Euro Camp. Let's hope there's no crashing of the cars this time though, as David is on the rear of I Crashed the Car. Some potential blue flags getting in the way of this one as well. Like I Crash has got past safely. It's be down at the inside for David as well. Looks like that BMW's gone wide, so all well there. Still got a few people in the chat. If you want us to look at someone specific, let us know. And up front, that's looking like a crash. I believe that was Mauler that's had the incident there, just touching a rear wheel on the grass, like we were saying earlier. It's a prime way crashed the car. Obviously, crashed the car in front will be very knowledgeable in that. Fantastic livery on that thing, though. Nice mix of red and black. All about the little details with liveries, as you saw on the approach to the turn 2 there. You can see now just red inlets on the front. Makes all the difference. A little bit of a look down the inside there from Baldo, but nothing came out of it. Look at the inside again at turn 1, and just slips back. Obviously there's 2 splits in this race. Obviously we're on split 2 at the moment, which is a slightly big grid, but also slightly slower than who we've got in split 1. On the stewarding side, I think we've had a total of 72 incidents in split 2 so far, 32 in split 1, which is pretty mental to be honest, but I think the grid size is slightly lower in split 1. They've currently got 13 grid remaining. Baldo's still unable to get past. I crashed the car in front. Baldo's hoping that he will crash the car. We're hoping for a good battle though. He slipped back a little bit that lap. 3/10 difference between the laps. He's now 0.7 seconds back from I crashed. Gonna have to find a better name for the number 19 BMW in front. Can't just keep calling him I crashed the car. All over the rear though, going to be looking for maybe a look down the inside here, a little bit of a wheel in the gravel as they go into sector 2. The BMW is slightly wide, potentially looking for a better exit on the corner there. There's no space for David on the inside, so it's going to be a better run for that BMW once again. But fantastic start to this lap from the Ferrari. He's got the real run down, not going to get anything from the slipstream. Looks to the inside again. Nothing that they can do with that, but they hook the inside well, potentially getting a better exit than the BMW in front. So it's going to be another chase through sector 3. As they come round and down, there's only 2 corners left of this lap. Soon enough we'll be going back into the pit lane for some more stops. Further ahead, Flynn has now made his way up and towards the boundary of Mallorca. As we go on, there's a little bit of commentator's curse there as Flynn ends up diving off the circuit.
Hello.
Good afternoon.
Are you there, Harry?
Can you hear me? Yes? No? Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sorry, I had you muted from earlier. Absolute donut, sorry. What a total tube. Yeah, so... Yeah, we can do it. I mean, we could do this either way. Do you want me to go full screen on split 2 and I'll put screen 1 in the bottom?
Yeah, can do. I'll
Split 1 in the...
continue doing the broadcast for this.
Oh, you broadcast... Oh, hello, are you live on YouTube right now?
I'm still live, yeah.
Oh, okay. What, and can everyone hear us?
Yeah. Sorry, just for context, viewers, this is Raven who's been commentating on Split 1.
Right, okay. Yeah, so... Oh, yeah, well, so we'll just keep doing it this way then. Sorry, I'll just keep showing Or what is it? What is the plan, sorry?
Yeah, so I was thinking if we move everything over to one stream, we can have 2 in there, because it's a little desolate at the moment, so trying to spice things up a little bit while having 2 at 1.
Right, okay. So... yeah, so we'll both just talk about both races, or sorry, I'm still confused.
Yeah, basically just talk about both races. Like, I think they'll probably complement each other enough that we can do that.
Right, okay, yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. So I will continue to show your race in the bottom corner, and... So do you want me to screen share so you can show split 1 as well?
No, I'll end the stream, I'll direct people to the Twitch and continue there.
Right, okay, perfect.
Cool. Alright, for the YouTube viewers, we're moving over to Twitch. The link to the Twitch channel I'll post in the chat. And I'll see you over there.